No, I meant listeners, not you.
No,
I don't care if you pay attention to
I
it or
barely
not.
pay attention. I mean, I kind of have to.
You barely read the show script.
Because you barely have a show script. This is the most comprehensive show
Hey,
script we've
Google
had
Docs works both ways.
I know it does. But I was on a beach somewhere.
$372 episodes in, and I'm going to try to not screw this up. Welcome to Beerfield. I am your host at Beerfield Hop with 2 P's. As always, joined by Beerfield Theory. No ED. Wait.
No, that's right.
No, even if you had ED, they'd make a pill for that.
Aw.
No ED. And because I'm going to start trying to do this so that we don't talk for 10 minutes before we introduce a guest, we do have a third today. From the Superflex show, Superflex City. DLF Football. A longtime friend of the show, 5 years running. Pretty much whole time been with us. One of the nicest guys in the industry. He's so nice he actually apologized to Canadians once before they could apologize to him. John Hogue.
It was actually impressive. I felt it. I was like, you didn't have to apologize to me.
Hey?
I'm not even from Canada.
Yeah, you're from Canada South.
That's a joke. Bam.
Man, you already snuck one in.
Well, I know. I'm just so excited. I mean, it's been just Hopper and I for 18 weeks.
John.
Oh, is that right?
Weeks.
Yeah, we didn't do any
time.
guests during in season.
Yeah.
I don't know why
We're
we
already
know.
too busy. That's probably why.
And just in time to get back to it, we're gonna do a gluten-free episode. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I feel like we have 3 or 4 people that come on that's gluten free.
Oh, is that right? Okay? I don't feel so bad then.
Yeah.
Don't.
There's
Like,
been
it feels like it kind of sets the expectations for the content too. Like that's going to be gluten free and tasteless and pointless.
Well, at least you brought a
And that's
gluten
not the
free
case.
beer and not like a seltzer or something. At least you brought an actual beer onto the show.
Yeah, and it's awful, but yeah.
I mean,
it's
Glutenberg,
beer.
it's pretty bad. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
You've had it.
I've had it. I've
Okay.
tried it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know that
I
I've
used to-
ever tried it.
I've tasted it out once, when I was still working for our liquor store here, and
Yeah.
I've tried a lot of
it's-
weird shit. I don't know.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
That's just on the road trips.
Yeah.
All right. We got content for you today. Sorry we weren't here last week. Dan was busy on a beach somewhere where it wasn't 20 degrees out. So
80 degrees every day. No, I think we had 2 blotches of dribbled rainfall. It was otherwise perfect weather.
Yep, hate you.
It was insane. Oh God, I didn't want to leave. I was like, I'm just gonna open up a brewery here. Is that cool?
Well, first things first.
I know. We got to record the show first. I know.
Wait,
More important things.
it's not where I was going. I was going to say to open a brewery, you got to brew first.
I know.
Speaking of the show, we got an AFC Dynasty check-in. So we're officially kicking off some of our off-season check-in content. Do a little bit of Dynasty stuff, kind of set the stage before we get into draft content. That's John's here to talk about with us. And we're going to go through some coaching updates, news over the last 2 weeks. A couple things broken. We're not going to touch on everything because there would be a lot. But definitely some of the stuff that's set in stone, maybe a little predictions stuff. I forgot how to word there for a second. And then we'll talk playoffs, give some predictions there. So definitely some content. Just going to chat football, really. And then focus on some Dynasty stuff because that's what we do here. But before we do that, we're drinking. Some of us gluten-free beer, some of us not.
What's fueling Beerfield?
All right, Dan, what you drinking?
So I'm keeping with the full-on distill theme. I had a super long meeting today that we just drank. My work meetings are great. So we're drinking a beer that we brewed specifically to send to Sweden. This is our Christmas IPA. This is basically a hazy red. This is part of our Deadhead series. It's from Distill, and this is a hazy red IPA. And its hopper nose is as well as our listeners who may know. We're huge red IPA fans here.
So, you're going to Sweden? Is where that's going?
Yeah. So we've done contract, like we've won contracts to send beer over there.
Nice.
We didn't get like the big grand prize one where we sent a bunch, but we were able to. We brewed up something special. We've done this before, the style before, but this is something that we're doing.
So what is the style again? I wasn't listening.
I know you weren't. God. It's a red IPA. It's a hazy red IPA.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I was intrigued. I was trying to find it on my can. I've got Iceland beer, so we're getting international beer field.
Apparently.
So this is from Einstock. So it's brewed in Iceland and then imported. This is their Icelandic Doppelbock. So this is a 330 milliliter beer, 6.7% ABV. So it is higher. Typically, when you see ice beers, they're higher ABV content. So, yeah. John, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got a Glutenberg Red from Montreal, Canada. The one time that they owe us an apology, we're not going to get it because this stuff is awful. Like it's water, millet, buckwheat, and green molasses. That's kind of like the majority of what's in this thing. And it just tastes more and more like nail polish the longer you let it go. So
and there's nutrition facts on the can. You don't normally get that.
Yeah.
This is a special moment, by the way. John, this is the second beer of all time that we brought on the show that is getting a negative review.
Really?
Yeah, this has only happened once before this.
Like that's been straight negative. Like
it's been
terrible.
like this was episode 12.
Yeah. You remember what it was, right? You remember what it was?
Yeah, it was that toasted lager from New York. Or no, not New York, from Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yep. I forgot what the actual brewery is called.
Blue Point, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It was god awful.
Tasted like pit sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which might be worse than nail polish. I'm not really sure, but
yeah, I think it's kind of a toss up. I mean, the thing is, like, this would be fine if you just don't stop drinking it. It's really the aftertaste is the problem.
Oh God.
But yeah, I mean, there's just not enough beer in all of Canada to make this okay.
Gotta get some gluten-free Labatt Blue.
They can't apologize for that one.
Yeah. But yeah, this is definitely the worst thing to happen to me all day drinking this. So
well, I'm glad it's not us. So,
yeah,
I mean, not the worst.
Yeah,
this
is the best. Being on the show with you guys is the best thing to happen to me.
We're 8 minutes into the show.
But in all fairness, though, like this is a little bit on you guys. I mean, I wouldn't be drinking this if I wasn't on beer fueled. So you guys could apologize if you wanted.
I apologize for a lot of things.
I apologize.
So.
You do know that we expanded, right? Like we don't just have to do beer now. We do like I'm gonna get into
that's right.
I'm gonna get into this a little bit later and
nice.
Yeah, so
we do a lot of other
we do more than just beer now.
You guys told me that last time.
Yeah, we basically started getting too local. Like most of the stuff that was available nationwide, we'd hit. So we started to mix it up some.
Nice.
And when I work for a brewery and I get kind of lazy and I don't have a job that just I can buy and have access to like 200 breweries at any time,
we get distill like
and now
9 episodes a month.
Like I try, if not distill, then it's bourbon, and I think I've gone through all but one bottle that I haven't opened.
I'm gonna start
up
giving
yet,
you beer out of my fridge just so we get something other than distill from you.
Yeah, well, I can also, pick up beer from the liquor stores that I'm trying to sell to. So.
Well, you could, but, we've seen how long it takes you to buy a new mic cable, so I can only imagine how long it's going to take you to go to the liquor store.
The fact that I haven't bought a new mic, a new desktop, I'm so using gaming headphones, like it's whatever.
Anything. All right.
We're professionals.
We got some news. We got some coaching updates to get into. Some second interviews. So kind of run through these. If there's something that's a good fit or a horrible fit, feel free to call it out. Brian Dable, second interviews with the Giants and the Dolphins, it looks like so far.
Giants just hitting out of the park here with their with the GM hire and
man,
getting Dabble.
If they make that hire, that's a great one.
It is.
The only problem is, and I've kind of had this fear with a lot of the teams that have been interviewing Brian Dable. I believe he got an interview with my Denver Broncos. Is that there's going to be this idea that he is going to do with your crappy young quarterback the same thing that he did for Josh Allen, and Daniel Jones isn't Josh Allen. Drew Lock
No one's Josh Allen. I don't even think Josh Allen is actually Josh Allen.
Well,
it's so impressive.
And the quarterback coach there in Buffalo is who gets a lot of credit for Josh Allen too. I mean, Dable's done good things with the offense, but he alone didn't didn't fix Josh Allen.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
A great way of play calling, like the fact that they recognize that A, they can't draft running backs, and B, that they don't care about the running game, because why would you want to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands anyways? Like,
they play to the strength.
All the guy does is create fucking magic. He's like, I want to give it to Devin Singletary or Zach Moss or something named Matt Breida, who's barely alive right now. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it'd be good for the Giants. The Giants definitely need a scheme change. As I was going through them from kind of a dynasty perspective, I think a lot of their issues were, one, related to the fact that Daniel Jones was hurt for part of the year. Two, the fact that their starting quarterback is Daniel Jones. But three, just super low ADOT. Scheme was just not designed to exploit somebody like a Kenny Golladay. Really the only guy who had decent underlying metrics was Kadarius Toney. More on him next week. Everybody else is kind of mediocre. Golladay didn't get worse in some of his, underlying stuff than he was in Detroit. It just wasn't utilized in the same way. So just tells you how much New York needed to change there. As for the Dolphins, that could be a more attractive landing spot, I think, given some of the pieces that are there, and some of the more recent success, at least in comparison to the Giants. But I'm surprised that some of the more high profile spots he's not a finalist for, and by high profile I mean like the Jacksonvilles and the Chicagos of the world, where you do have the solid young quarterbacks in place. Or you mentioned Denver. I don't know if he got a second interview with Denver. I know that he got first interviews with a lot of places. But, Denver, another place where there's a lot of, not a quarterback, but a lot of offensive weapons.
Yeah. He did not get a second interview here. They've kind of narrowed it down to 3, and he's not on that list. So, which was a little surprising to me. Yeah. But like I said, there's kind of a hidden blessing in that whole thing, because if you do end up with an offensive mind type of guy who comes in, with the right or wrong, getting the credit for Josh Allen's success.
Yeah,
there's a temptation there to stick with the young quarterback and see if Dable can, if he can replicate that type of success with this. And I mean, it sounds like they're going to keep Daniel Jones in New York, and they're, regardless of who they hire, it kind of sounds like they're going to try and do the same thing. And I just, I'll never understand it.
Like, I want to go to New York.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, all right, buddy. Fuck you, Daniel Jones. When we told you that we were going to hold on to you.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that one.
In Seattle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Leslie Frazier also with the Giants. I don't really have a lot to say on that. I think that would kind of, I don't know. The Giants had done some things to address defense, but you just had Joe Judge as a coach. You got to get a little more imaginative, I think, than Leslie Frazier. Dan Quinn for the Bears and the Broncos, and he is a finalist for both jobs, I believe.
Yep.
And I'm kind of interested to hear how you feel about it from, another fan base. I know my feelings on Dan Quinn are that, he had some success with the Falcons, obviously the Super Bowl loss, and then not so much success down the stretch. He is a defensive-minded guy. You guys just got rid of a defensive-minded head coach. We just got rid of what was supposed to be an offensive-minded head coach. I'm Dan Quinn is not my first choice. It seems like to me that he would be getting that on, past success. The league's trending towards younger coaches, and it's kind of the hot, sexy thing to do. And there has been, some success with that across the league. So, Dan Quinn's just kind of one that, for me, it feels like you're being set up for disappointment. I want to believe in it, but Dan Quinn to me would feel like I'm just being set up to be let down.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. It just from Denver Broncos fan base standpoint. I mean, not only did we just get rid of that with Vic Fangio, but before that was Vance Joseph. It was the exact same idea. These are all the very same guy, defensive minded, quote unquote leader of men, like the strong leadership skills. But there's not a whole lot. The one thing that Dan Quinn does bring to either organization, I kind of think he ends up in Chicago, by the way. But
yeah,
that by his choice, I think that Chicago is a more attractive job, and I think that that's the one that he would ultimately pick. But the one thing I will say is, you get head coaching experience, which, that seems to be kind of the thing that gets missed a lot when these teams are making their head coaching hires. Like you said, it's all about the young, offensive mind. Everyone wants to go find the next Sean McVay.
Yep.
And then we see a lot of these guys on the sidelines having issues with some of the very basics of, clock management and play calling just kind of across the board and stuff. And it's like they're still, Vic Fangio is still a great defensive mind. Matt Nagy was still a great offensive mind, but the overall leadership part, the overall, management of the team, it just kind of wasn't there. You need that experience. So I think that there is some reason for optimism with Dan Quinn, but ultimately, I don't know how much it is.
I wonder, it's probably going to depend on who he brings with him, more so than it's him. Because, like you guys said, defensive minded, like how much is he going to, he'll have his say, with some of the play calling and some of the offense, personnel decisions, but who he decides to bring in as his OC, maybe just as important, especially with Justin Fields there.
Well, the other thing too is that, Matt Ryan, who Quinn had in Atlanta, Justin Fields, he's going to have to bring somebody in that is more familiar with the field skill set, because he's not. Yeah. He didn't work with Matt Ryan and Justin Fields. Do not have the same skill set. Now it's
what?
Yeah,
no.
Good for So I agree. It's going to be what he puts around him. The other thing I'll say about Dan Quinn is that I don't think he did a good enough job in Dallas to immediately get thrown back into the head coaching atmosphere. Dallas is opportunistic. They were much improved, but it's not like this is a lockdown defense that didn't, disappoint or anything like that. You've got Diggs out there picking half of everything off. They generated turnovers, but it's not like I thought of Dallas. I'm like, shit, team's not going to score anything.
Yeah. There's kind of Dallas might be the sneaky winners in the whole thing, because now they have a defensive coordinator position open with good defensive pieces in place. And now all of a sudden, they could very easily get an upgrade just with some of these coaches who are suddenly available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know who I would take Dan Quinn over? Jim Caldwell.
I can't believe why the fuck is he even getting, why?
I don't want to take anything away from Caldwell and, what he did with the Colts and what he did with the Lions, and leader of men, right? Solid coach, but I have a hard time seeing him as the injection of energy and fresh vision that the Bears need. I mean, Quinn's somebody that, or Caldwell's somebody that, to me would make sense for like the Raiders if they wanted to move on or do something like that. I mean, where you've got an established veteran nucleus and can build on that, or you just need somebody to make sure that nucleus doesn't underachieve any more than they already have. Like, that's where I think Jim Caldwell comes in. He's not somebody that moves the needle or gives a fresh injection into a franchise. I hate to say it because I don't want to take anything away from what he's done. It's either that scenario or it's something like the Texans, where you have this rebuilding franchise and you need somebody to keep the team engaged and keep the team motivated and try to be like that bridge coach. You can see the thoughts on Caldwell are real strong here.
I don't like Jim Caldwell, I'll be honest. Yeah. I get it. Again, there's the head coaching experience, significant amount of that, in fact. Mm-hmm. But man, it's really just kind of, it's a little bit personal for me. I just it's like the football fan in me that, like, this is not going to be actual like football analysis. Mm-hmm. This is just, as a fan, it pissed me off when, so the Colts had a shot at, and I don't even remember what year it is. I want to say like 2008, something like that. They had a shot at running the table, and actually getting that undefeated season, and then he benched Peyton Manning.
That's
to
right.
finish.
It was right after Dungy retired.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, which it was. I mean, Manning wanted to be out there. The Colts fans wanted him to be out there. They're like, it would be great to have him healthy and ready for the playoffs, but how many opportunities do you get to run the table? But he was not willing to do it. But then when it was time for the Detroit Lions to run the table in reverse, he had absolutely no problem with that. He guided them to 0-16 and the top overall pick, and it's just like, man, that's just so lame. I don't know. It's just I don't know. He takes the fun out of it, and for that I say
Marinelli the 0-16 coach with the Lions?
It was not Jim Caldwell.
Maybe they did get a win on accident.
I'm gonna look that up, actually, because I think I'm
right. Looking at it, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Caldwell's coaching experience. He was not a part of that.
I know he wasn't,
That's
but
right.
There was one where they were bad. I remember that.
Yeah.
They were.
If they won a game, it was only one.
Actually,
7-9 was his.
He was
worst
11-5,
year with Detroit.
7-9, 9-7, 9-7. He was 2-14 with Indy. Was where it was.
That
was
what I
the
was thinking
Peyton
of.
Manning hurt his neck year.
That was the
Yeah.
year that they had Curtis Painter starting half of their freaking games.
And
That's-
clipboard Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
God, clipboard Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah,
Charlie
he wouldn't
Whitehurst.
wouldn't let Whitehurst in there. Yeah, it felt like they were actively tanking to get Andrew Luck. That's what they were actively tanking to get Luck, and he was willing to do that. He was willing to lose as many games as it takes to get the quarterback in the draft, but he wasn't willing to go undefeated and be a part of NFL history. And it was just like, that is just the lamest thing.
Yeah, it was
Like I said,
2009, and the two losses were Week 16, Week 17.
Yeah, that was Jets and Bills.
Yep.
Like, powerhouses at that time.
Yeah.
Totally. Who was starting quarterback for the Bills at that point in time? Actually, now I want to know.
I wonder if it was Fitzpatrick.
No,
I'm pretty sure Sanchez was the.
For the Jets, it was Sanchez. It was Fitzpatrick.
No, yeah. Was it? It wasn't Brett Favre. That was when he went to Minnesota. So that was. I don't know who the quarterback was with the Jets at that point.
It was Sanchez. I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
It was Sanchez.
Was it Sanchez? Okay.
Yep, it was Sanchez. He went for 257 and 2. Thomas Jones and Sean Green were the running backs in a split back role. And Braylon Edwards and Jericho Cotchery had 100-yard games.
God, those are names. Braylon Edwards and Jericho Cotchery. Jesus. All right.
Good rabbit hole. All right. Matt Eberfluss, Colts defensive coordinator. Again, kind of like Quinn, doesn't really move the... I don't think he was... Again, Colts. They performed better than I expected them to. And Carson Wentz wasn't exactly putting up a ton of points with that offense. Jonathan Taylor carrying them on his back. But so the defense certainly kept them in games. He did a good job with them. Is he ready for head coaching experience? I don't know. I look at Eberfluss, and I think there could be a little bit of a Brandon Staley quality there. But, again, it's one of those things that, one, the Bears seem to be the only team interested, which can't be a good sign.
Not good.
And I'll get more on, I mean, that could be Polian, but I'll get more into that when we get into the GM hire. Anything else on Eberfluss? I hope not.
Nope.
Okay, great. The Giants are already interviewing defensive coordinators before they have a head coach in place, which seems strange.
Odd. Maybe Poles has a really good idea who he wants as his DC.
Poles is the Bears GM.
That's
you mean
right.
Schoen?
Just kidding.
Showing.
Yes, sorry.
Brand new.
But I mean, either or. I mean, that's how bad franchises stay bad, and that's bad form. You don't hire the DC before you hire the head coach. And here's your staff. Work with them. That seems like a not good way to go about that. Anyway, I just found that intriguing. Byron Leftwich to the Jags. They apparently tried to lowball him, but I think this fit makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to put fans back in the seats. He gets to work with Lawrence. He trained and learned under Bruce Arians for his time in Tampa Bay
and Arizona, and that's exactly it. Arizona, he's put in his time as an OC. He's led some very, very good offenses under Bruce Arians. It's time for the Arians coaching tree because Arians has been good to have somebody else picked up. You go to Jacksonville, you get what they were. I think they were ultimately trying to get out of Urban Meyer, which is a coach to put asses in seats. That's not how you do it. It's not how you should do it, but it's the same philosophy. And it's a younger offensive mind that fits the mold. But unlike some of these guys, like who are getting plucked after a year, he's actually put in his dues, done the work as an OC. I think he deserves a shot. Lawrence definitely needs somebody that can mentor him. Former quarterback, you don't get much mentoring for a quarterback than a former quarterback, especially backup quarterbacks, because those guys are freaking smart, and he did spend some time doing that. And I that's a fit that I love, and it makes too much sense for me to think Jacksonville's not going to fuck it up somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Not so sold on that one?
Nah, nothing really to add. Yeah, that's definitely in their DNA. So
I'll throw these next two out for you. Nathaniel Hackett, Broncos.
Yeah, that's Aaron Rodgers bait. I think that's what that is.
I said that 2 weeks ago, didn't I, Dan?
I
said
that right?
It feels so much like dangling the bait. Come on, buddy.
Which is a horrible reason to make a hire, by the way.
Oh,
are you sure that isn't Blake Bortles bait?
Right. I mean, it might be. They just don't know it yet.
I think that it is Aaron Rodgers bait. I said that 2 weeks ago. They're going to bring the OC and try to lure Rodgers to want to go there based on the OC being the head coach, somebody he's familiar with and somebody that he can work with. Because if you can't have LaFleur, what's the next best thing?
Right. I mean, I do think that Nathaniel Hackett would be a good hire. Again, I mean, you're missing the head coaching experience, but otherwise, I think that would be a good hire. Sounds like he might bring what's his name, Luke Gertze, whatever the passing game coordinator might come along with him as well to become offensive coordinator.
And
You need an offensive mind here. It's been way too long without any kind of offensive creativity.
Yeah.
So you need that, and I think that they bring that. The only thing is, make a hire based on who you already have and who is going to be within your reach, not based on somebody that you may or may not be able to trade for.
Yep.
He had a top 10 offense with Blake Bortles. So
yeah, yep.
I'm just saying that's all you need to know about Hackett.
That's all you need to know. You got top 10 out of Blake Bortles.
It's no head coaching experience, but kind of like Leftwich, right? 8 years as an OC. He's been doing it for a long time. Some good years, some bad years. It's more Rodgers bait than he's not blowing the pants off of anything. But it probably is more Rodgers bait than anything. And Kevin O'Connell. So literally the next McVay, because it's the next guy that's under McVay that seems to get plucked every year.
Yep. Yeah. Which defensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken.
Thought it might be. I'm going to double check that. Go ahead.
Which, again, assuming I'm right on that, like you're bringing in another
passing game coordinator, I'm pretty sure, and former backup quarterback.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if it's an offensive mind, then I'm all for it. Once again, we're missing the head coaching experience, but I just don't know where you're going to find that necessarily.
Not in somebody you want, because when you get, if you're looking offensively, right? Because those guys aren't getting let go at this point in time, so you're going to have to pluck somebody new, or and when they flame out, right, they're getting like jettisoned to the pit of misery. So, the only way you're going to find that to somebody that's redone their dues under somebody after flaming out is going to be like Josh McDaniels, and he's getting no love in this one, or in this cycle. So,
and we wouldn't bring him back anyways. That was probably the darkest 2 years in year and a half in Broncos history.
Right, and I mean, I'm just going to run through this real quick. Actually, look at the offensive coordinators that, other than that, you don't. Roman was never a head coach. Yeah, you don't have a offensive coordinator with head coaching experience anywhere.
Yeah.
So, at least not in the AFC. In the NFC, I think it's probably the same thing. Ben McAdoo, I guess, who just got hired by the Panthers. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Other than that, no. It's all not guys who have ever been a head coach. So they're literally getting jettisoned when they flame out. The offensive guys are.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, some guys where retirement's being speculated. There are some confirmed. So we'll get to Peyton here in a minute. Brandon Brooks, who's Eagles guard, retired. Keith Butler, Steelers defensive coordinator, retired. That one's actually non-negligible because of how good the Steelers defense has been. It's the only reason they were winning a lot of games, because it damn sure wasn't Ben.
Nope.
The other two speculations that you'll get every year, Gronk and Brady.
I think you put Rodgers on this list too. I think Rodgers. I think there's a shot to be retired.
Except there hasn't really been the smoke around Rodgers. Brady's talking about needing to show up better for his wife and his kids on podcast, and Gronk actually already said if you put a gun to his head today and asked if he was staying or going, you'd retire again.
Oh yeah, I think especially if Brady goes, like Gronk wouldn't have came back if Brady didn't want to.
He also said there's a world where Brady retires and he keeps playing.
I doubt I have a hard time seeing.
Yeah.
So
are we just calling Roethlisberger officially retired?
Yeah, Roethlisberger is officially retired, and I don't really need to say anything about Roethlisberger.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah,
let him go off, and we can never have to.
There's nothing I want to say. We'll get into Roethlisberger when we get into what the hell is Pittsburgh gonna do here in a couple weeks.
Mason Rudolph. Ugh.
Gross.
Jameis Winston.
Maybe with New Orleans, did Sean Payton gone?
Yeah. Sean Payton is the biggest one that came out, and he envisions himself in football, but he is leaving the Saints. Saints are going to be a total dumpster fire next year, and probably for the next couple of years.
Probably. Yeah.
I think you move on from Kamara. I think you got to pull this cord. Because I think Michael Thomas is also gone, and I don't think Winston comes back without Peyton there.
No, make them the Texans.
And then all of a sudden they're in play at quarterback. You know, we weren't really talking too much about them being involved in the quarterback market, you know, whether it's in free agency or the draft. But I think it's there. I mean, you know, who believes in Taysom Hill other than Sean Payton?
No one.
Yeah.
No one.
And he's already in his 30s.
Not even Taysom Hill. He's like, what the fuck am I doing out here, man?
If Taysom Hill was going to be a starting quarterback in the league, it would have happened when Brees retired. You don't bring in Jameis Winston if you believe in Taysom Hill in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you don't give him the contract that you gave him, which is like, yeah, you'll get some money if you actually play quarterback, but I mean, you're not going to play quarterback, man.
Right. The Saints, that shit, like, which just sucks because they have such a good young defense too. I mean, they do have some aging pieces that are aging out, but like to lose like that offense, to lose Peyton and just to watch him kind of deteriorate with that young defense, it's like it's a wasted opportunity because they didn't have a true window open.
You could turn it around if you got to
make the right hire. You got to,
a lot has to go right. You got to make, like you said, you got to make the right hire. The O-line's fine for the most part, so you got to make the right hire. You got to
convince Michael Thomas to stay, who
yes,
you have a fractured relationship with. Right
now. But with the change in leadership, maybe that helps. I don't know what his relationship with Peyton was like.
I mean, it might grow even beyond Peyton.
It could. I don't know.
It's also a lot of social media stuff and a lot of speculations. It's I guess we'll see what they do moving forward here in the next few weeks. I have to imagine now.
Got to be interesting to see if they go full rebuild on the offense or if they try to retool it quick through, free agency.
They can take Kirk Cousins if they want.
If Michael Thomas is gone, Juju's a free agent, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's the thing. This is a decent year to rebuild on the fly, really.
Yes, it is.
We're pretty saturated at both wide receiver and quarterback, so there are ways to do it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You make some phone calls. We'll see what happens with Watson, but I think with the way Davis Mills played, and I think
so here's a question for you.
Yeah, what's the question?
With that defense, if they sign Gallup or Juju, right?
Sure.
Michael Thomas comes back, which you're not going to get Juju in same role. That'd be a Giants thing.
Yeah.
But
Gallup would be a great fit with Michael Thomas.
And then let's say that you grab another bridge quarterback. Either you bring Jameis back, you sign a guy like Mitch Trubisky who had success with the Bears and went to the Bills to back up and came out of that system to compete in camp, right? You sign a couple veterans to go compete in camp that have some upside, and one of them hits, they're right back in it.
I mean, they were in it with Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian.
And nobody.
Kamara was banged up. They traded and got back Mark Ingram. I mean, they won games without Michael Thomas. And they had arguably the worst receiving core outside of Detroit.
Right.
Like, that shit was fucking bad. And so you guys might be right. I mean, they might be one away. Especially with the AFC or with the NFC South kind of in this weird position because, let's say Brady retires, then what? The best quarterback in that division is Matt fucking Ryan?
Yeah. And that's assuming that the Falcons hold on to Ryan.
Now. Yeah, exactly. Like, he may move on to a team like Pittsburgh. He may go to the Saints. Matt Ryan is a perfect bridge quarterback in that sense, where I think you can get some 1 or 2 years left out of him.
Pittsburgh.
Especially if they're right offense.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think that's the best way to put a bow on that conversation. There's a lot of option for the Saints to retool the offense on the fly. And it's going to be one of the most interesting situations to watch in the offseason, I think.
I agree.
Okay. Other speculation: Jarvis Landry out with the Browns potentially. No guaranteed money left. You think Landry's back with Cleveland? If you were not watching on YouTube, Dan is doing hand gestures.
I mean, I don't really care, but I mean, Cleveland's got so many holes in that receiving core.
And a gigantic hole. I mean, we'll get to this later. Gigantic
black
quarterback.
They have a black hole at head coach. Like, I fucking hate Stefanski. So,
really,
yeah, I'm not a fan.
What if Thomas leaves and Landry goes to New Orleans?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Everybody's going to New Orleans.
Yeah,
in this scenario, John Payton leaves. Everybody wants to show up.
It's just kind of the catch-all drawer. They're getting all the wide receivers that no one wants, quarterbacks no one wants.
I mean, I think they keep
packets.
Like. I do think Cleveland's in play to try to make a move to improve at quarterback, which means that I think they'll try to retain Landry. I mean, they like Landry there
to play quarterback, or to make it more enticing.
He can't be worse than a banged up Baker at this point. So, I mean, you might as well bring back Odell to throw. I'm kidding. Don't bring back Odell.
I mean, I will say, like, if you're gonna stick with Baker for another year, you better bring back Landry. Mm-hmm. Like, there's
I don't even think Baker's he's gonna fight tooth and nail tonight. I think he's also done in Cleveland.
I don't think he is. I think he'll be back. They might bring in somebody to push him, but they're gonna let him go.
Well, they're gonna franchise tag him, and that's what I mean. I mean, Baker pushed extremely hard to get his contract extension. Cleveland played the slow roll and wanted to see if his end of 2020 was going to be replicated going into this year, and it got off on the right start. Then he got hurt, and we saw what happened. So,
yeah. But I mean, because if you do bring him back, it's got to be with an ultimatum. It's got to be like, this is the time to prove that you're a franchise quarterback. Like, now's the time to start winning some games. Now's the time to start showing some offensive firepower.
You've got to stop making excuses, right? Because he always. I mean, as much as I love, and Hopper knows how much I love Baker, and I'll always somewhat defend him, the dude's got to stop making excuses. That's all we fucking hear after every game that's ended. His pride gets in the way, and I mean, I can go on a tangent about it. We don't need to, but he needs to obviously improve. And
but you also need to not give him an excuse. You've got to give him some offensive weapons, and be able to say, all right, like, this, everything is in place for you here. So you've got to prove that you can win with this, that you can get us to the playoffs, make a run.
I mean, the problem is he did that, Like, he got that, even with Odell's issues, he got that 2 years ago, and they won a playoff game in Pittsburgh. Like, he did everything, and that's why I think that's led to this kind of disconnect between him and the organization. Is he got him to that point, and that still didn't get him a contract extension, even after Allen got his and kind of set. Like, where he obviously wasn't going to get, Allen money by any means, but I like there is some rumblings that him and
Mitch Trubisky took the Bears to the playoffs twice in a Matt Nagy offense, right? I mean, that's not enough to get you extended when your play's inconsistent.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, but I'm just saying for that point. So.
Ravens fired Don Wink Martindale. Dan, any thoughts?
They should have got rid of the Ron coordinator. I think what Martindale even got out of that defense.
With how banged up they were, you're signing.
I mean, you guys street level secondary
Walgreens cashiers to play cornerback.
You're losing linebackers. You're losing pass rushers, and he still got. He still got good effort out of it. I think it was a Ron move. I think they're going to regret this.
Panthers hired Ben McAdoo as offensive coordinator.
DJ Moore unlocked? Maybe.
I
mean, he got a lot out of Odell Beckham
7 years ago, maybe.
I mean, I don't know. He made Eli Manning a QB1 for 2 seasons. when he was the OC there. That's all I got, really.
I have a hard I have a hard time
I'm trying to make it
relying
sound
on what
okay.
somebody did like forever ago. To like
It can't get worse than what DJ
everything
Moore had
you have
prior.
out there right now, right? From these
Yeah.
teams that have been successful, these position coaches you can grab as quarterbacks, and the best you can do is Ben McAdoo.
I mean, they keep making really poor decisions. So I
Who
mean, are we
no
really
one else
shocked
was
by
sniffing
this?
around.
Well, and also, who's the quarterback? You know, like I kind of don't care about the offensive coordinator until I know who's actually going out and executing these play
Right
calls.
now, it's Sam Darnold.
Picking
Right.
up the 5th-year option of Sam Darnold. Woo!
Yeah.
Great move, guys.
He's
Yeah.
gonna make Sam Darnold the QB1.
Oh my! I mean, it can't be worse than what Manning was when he did it with him, right? Unlock DJ Moore finally, and maybe we'll make
Manning
Darnold
already
the
had a
QB1.
Super Bowl when he did it with him.
Yeah, was it 2? 2?
I think the second
Yeah,
one was
because he
with
won. He
McAdoo.
won. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't there for the first one.
He was there. I think he was a position coach though,
Okay.
because he was a quarterbacks coach before they bumped him up to OC. Yeah, that's why they brought him in. Well, you made Eli Manning something. Maybe he can do something with this trash heap.
He helped drag Manning to the Hall of Fame. He can probably maybe fix Darnold, or they'll trade for Drew Lock, and that'll make you very, very happy inside Hopper.
Locke needs to start for Denver.
Ugh. Gross.
I was waiting for
He's
it.
never
You're
coming
just-
out.
Come on, I need one.
just-
one.
You're just making sure I was paying attention.
He's never coming out.
I'm
again.
listening. Yes,
John's
No.
still with us. He said
Yeah.
Drew Lock. He
And I will
responded.
I will not have this positivity towards Drew Lock.
It feels nice to have someone in my corner on this.
Moving on. Something good here. Bears hired GM Ryan Poles. So he was like VP of college scouting or something for the Chiefs. Something that they did well. Offensive line background. Chiefs definitely did offensive line well. Poles, former offensive lineman. And then the Bears ownership did something smart, which I've never heard of them doing in my lifetime.
That's shocking to me right now.
And they are not getting involved in the head coaching hire after this point. Ryan Poles gets to do second interviews, make his own head coach.
I mean, you got to live and die by this hire. I think it's a great move for them.
And
it was a great hire in general, and now you get to let him.
It's the right move to let him
See.
pick, too. And that's why I'm not wondering if they, everyone they got for a second interview right now was hired before they finalized anything, was brought in for a second interview before they finalized anything with Poles. So what are we going to see in the coming days as far as second interviews go? Who does he want to talk to? Because he didn't do first interviews. So who does he want to talk to? Is going to be interesting.
That's true.
Yeah. And Pat Mahomes is going to get a lot of people jobs. That's kind of that's the
so
real,
true, right?
Yes.
It's the
That's
same
the-
with Rodgers and Brady.
Yeah, that's the real key of a quarterback's greatness. Like, forget about championships. Just show me the coaching tree. Show me the executive tree. It's he's going to get a lot
Look
of
at
people.
Dable.
A lot of
I mean,
jobs.
Dable is going to it's going to be a part of a head coaching job because of
Josh Allen?
Josh Allen in that offense too. I mean, granted, I mean, we could say great things, but it's the same spot
Well,
too.
Yeah, Schoen just got that job with the with the Giants. Yeah, they're. I mean,
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of coordinators, and it's going to be the defensive coordinators too. I mean, you've got that's the whole thing. You have the great quarterback, and the entire organization looks put together. Looks like a bunch
Right,
of
it's
true.
geniuses.
Right.
It's true. Rodgers has done it.
Yeah.
Now, in Los Angeles, I really think it is Sean McVay because they were doing it with Jared Goff. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
I think so too. But back to Peyton Manning, for instance,
he did.
Adam Gase got a lot of mileage
Out of
being
Peyton
offensive
Manning.
I
coordinator
can't
for-
believe, and he still gets some mileage.
And
of
Jay
Billy
Cutler.
Connolly.
He got
He's
mileage out
still
of Jay
living off
Cutler.
of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Josh McDaniels out of Brady.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Uh,
Brady's still getting guys jobs.
John Fox
Oh,
got a
shit.
lot of mileage out of Peyton Manning too.
But yeah, he did.
After the fact. Vikings hired Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah as GM. Baker Mayfield getting people hired.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker
I mean, he is part of
Mayfield's
scouting,
tree.
and it feels like great. I mean, I've been doing a little research on him. It feels like a great hire. It feels like, the one thing the Browns have done well is kind of find the. I mean, outside of Baker, I guess, is find the right pieces. Have developed the right players through the draft, and Kwesi's been a part of that scouting as well, and he's kind of. I mean, the Vikings have done pretty well with finding their GM, head coaching, and everything else have come with it. Who knows, but. They've done pretty well with their GMs.
Despite Baker, I will agree that the Browns have done pretty good in the draft the last several years. Finding talent, not at the quarterback position. Everywhere else. It's been fun.
Everywhere else besides the lead spot. It's almost like he's Spielman.
All right.
Fuck.
We won't talk about a lot. Just in general, thoughts on the divisional rounds. Who do you got coming out of the championship games for the Super Bowl?
Rams, Chiefs. As much as I want the Bengals,
I want Cincy so bad, but I'm on it.
We need Mahomes versus Stafford, Rams, Chiefs again.
The
Chiefs have become the villains, and it's not Patrick Mahomes' fault. Like, I almost want to blame his brother for the fact that the Chiefs have now become villains. Nobody wants them to win.
It's also just what happens when you consistently win is you become the villain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Brady also just didn't help. Like, between him and Belichick and all the controversy around these, through multiple years, Mahomes is so likable, and yet because the Chiefs win and he's good, it's
well, and his wife and his brother are not. But
yeah, his wife, more unlikable.
We definitely tend to look for those things a little bit harder with the dynasties, though. So
true,
it's true.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, they're going to be the villain. So, but sometimes that's a good thing. Unfortunately, I think that's probably the matchup, even though I'd like the exact opposite. I'd like a rematch in 1988. I think that'd be fun.
I mean, I really just wanted to keep watching the Chiefs and Bills playoff game. I never wanted that.
Yeah,
I'm on
let's
the airplane. Just
bring that back to be the Super Bowl.
Like, no one wants to watch any of the rest of the games. We just had the greatest divisional round weekend of all time.
Yep.
And it ended on a game where no one, it was just, it was perfection. How can you top that?
You don't. And
outside of the playoff rules getting better, you can't top that.
And I think a Rams Chiefs Super Bowl is still going to be good, right? I mean, if you ever listen to an NFL quarterback talk, if they're at NFL player talk, when they're asked about, who's the next best passer behind Mahomes from an arm talent perspective, Matt Stafford is the guy that is consistently mentioned. He was doing the arm angles before Mahomes was. He was doing the sidearm stuff and the no-look stuff before Mahomes was. He was just doing it in Detroit, so he never got any love for it.
It was buried.
That's why I want to see that matchup.
I want to see Stafford. I want to see Stafford win a ring. I want to see what McVay does in this second time around. Going back to the Super Bowl, and we'll see if the Chiefs can build this dynasty. We'll see if Mahomes is going to kind of replace Brady in a sense.
By the way, nothing against the Bengals. That would be fun as hell too.
Oh, I'd be God. The Joe Burrow love would be. Good luck trying to get him in dynasty now.
Yeah, it's already impossible, but yeah, add
it's
Super Bowl MVP to it, man.
Oh man, it'll probably go to Jamar Chase just because, and then now good luck getting him.
It's actually going to be like Jesse Bates or something.
Hey, I want to see defensive player win it, man. They get shafted so much. Jesse Bates was incredible.
Beer review.
Didn't mean to call this one early, but I'm almost out of beer.
You're almost done, dude. No, you're good. We'll let you go.
All right, Unstock's Doppelbock. I mean, it's exactly what I'd expect from something called Icelandic. It's definitely stronger. It has the alcohol warmth up front. It has some of the alcohol bite up front. It's not harsh by any stretch of the imagination, but it's there. And then, you really get the malty, caramely, kind of milk chocolatey notes of that you'd normally expect from a Doppelbock coming out, but the bitterness from just that's inherently there from the alcohol percentage keeps us very well balanced. I really like anything I've had from Einstock. It's the third different beer I've had from them. They're an import. Sometimes I shy away from those just because it seems a little gimmicky to me. I don't know why. But they do really, really good beer in different styles that you normally don't see people do, and this is no exception.
What is the ABV on it?
6.7 for a Doppelbock.
Okay.
So, it's about point and a half high.
That's even a bit smaller. Isn't most Doppelbocks in that 8% range?
Hold on. I will tell you exactly what the style calls for.
Okay. Maybe 6.8 is right.
So, the Doppelbock style is, holy God, between 7 and 10%. The Eisbach style is between 9 and 14, so this is actually low.
Yeah, I feel it already sounded pretty low because those ices are generally double digits anyways.
Yeah, 7 to 10 is a little low, actually. So, let me make sure I didn't read that wrong. Hold on, I could be blind, too.
Maybe you're missing a 1 there.
No, it's 6.7,
6.
so it's a little lower, but I guess still got really good balance. So,
John, you have anything you want to add to your?
Yeah, I did a pretty comprehensive review earlier.
You want to add to the nail polish?
Yeah, it didn't get any better. Yeah, so
it did not improve as it warmed up. Good to know.
It's only 5% ABV, which it tastes like straight alcohol. It tastes like, first you think it's killing bacteria, and then tastes like, oh, now it's killing brain cells, and turns out it's just killing taste buds.
It's just killing everything.
Yeah.
It's murdering everything. It's
just everything in its path. Yeah, it's a beast for sure.
All right, one more time I'm drinking. The still is Christmas Red. This is a red IPA, so hazy IPA, so malt forward. You get a bit of the malt bitterness from it, but because it's dry hopped, it kind of gives that juicy feel. This is one of my favorite styles. I wish would be more commercially accepted. It's like the redheaded stepchild of the of this part of the industry. So you won't get a chance to see it unless you live in Sweden, and good luck finding it then. So if you get a chance, to try these red IPAs or just really anything red in general, I'd say go out and give it a whirl. Not you, John, because obviously no gluten tolerant. These are the last things you want to drink. But if you really want to test your system, go for it.
It can't be worse than this. Even with the gluten, I think I would still, I'd still probably react better to that.
You would at least enjoy it while you're hurting.
Yeah.
You would enjoy the pain more.
Well, I'm sitting on the toilet for the next 5 hours.
You're
and
drinking it while going.
So worth it.
This feels so good. We're good, bud.
That's good. I had to run and pee in the middle of it, and then I poured a Belgian Strong Ale.
Ooh.
Off the Keyser. So
there you go.
A little toasty. Okay. Let's get into some Dynasty check-in. So what I want to do with the Dynasty check-in, basically player each, honorable mentions, we'll throw them out there if we got them. Really wanted to bring a player each to kind of deep dive for a couple different categories across the AFC. So this is not comprehensive by any means. It's just more of a who do you want to highlight. So what we're going to talk about is a guy who we think helped their stock in the 2021 season, who hurt their stock in the 2021 season. We're going to try to predict somebody that might be a breakout or a bounce-back candidates who they had a bad season. We expect them more to regress to the mean or positive regression the following season, or somebody that showed flashes of, okay, they're about to break out and have really their first big season. And then we'll look at, guys that, we may want to trade away. So if you think breakout, bounce back, those are kind of guys we're targeting to buy low before that happens. guys who want to trade away. It's more what we would term sell, but trying to get away from that terminology. So, who are we looking at is somebody we want to move and kind of give criteria on, how do we quantify when we want to move somebody? Because I think everybody quantifies that differently. And then who are we holding on to? Because, we just think the value is going to, not really a breakout, but, somebody we're not ready to give up on just yet.
I promise I won't say Baker, John.
Nice.
And I did not say Drew Lock.
Oh, my God.
Perfect. All right. This is the
John's like, I'm so glad I'm here now.
Yeah. I'm right at home.
He's
Fuck
like
this
getting ready,
beer, but everything
like,
else
exit
is
out.
good.
I'm about ready to leave the chat if they say anything about fucking Baker and Drew Lock.
All right, John, you're the guest. So go ahead and start with you. Who's a guy that you think helped themselves out this season? Who really helped their dynasty stock this year?
Yeah, and there are kind of a lot of rookies that we could talk about. There's a ton honorable mentions on
I
this.
got one written down as a rookie.
Yeah.
Mine is a rookie. So
Nice. Mine is too. And I'm going to focus on this one in particular, Najee Harris. Just because to me, there's also just kind of there's some strategy involved. There's a learning opportunity involved. But Najee Harris jumped all the way up to running back 2 in both in ADP and in my own personal rankings. And the bottom line, the action item here is get running backs in the rookie draft. Like that's
Always.
That's even in Superflex to me, like as much as, I mean, that's kind of your one opportunity to reload at quarterback. You really want to get it to a point where you've got all the quarterbacks. You don't have to use rookie picks on quarterbacks, because that's the one opportunity to get in on these running backs before their price just shoots way up. So Najee Harris, is as hard as it would have been to make that move, to draft him, even, first overall in a Superflex rookie draft in 2021. Right now, you would have gotten a massive, massive value increase, and you would have been you would have been in a much better situation at running back than most of your league.
yeah, I think the utilization for Najee Harris was kind of the biggest selling point for me. Is that we know how Tomlin utilizes his backs. He came in, he stayed healthy throughout that level of utilization, was super involved in that offense. And, there's some uncertainty there in Pittsburgh with Ben leaving. But, I mean, it can't close things up for him anymore, right? It can only open things up. The volume was absolutely there. That's the base you want for anything. And then you hope that you build on efficiency a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to think that the usage is going to, it could even increase with a new quarterback, new system. When you bring in a new quarterback, the running game really is kind of the training wheels. So, while you get them up to speed and implement that new system for them.
Dan, anything to add on Najee?
No, I think it's a great call. I mean, it's John, alluded to, like, getting running backs in your rookie drafts it's one of the biggest cheat codes, and it's really where I target to where if I want to make a run for a championship, it's really based around where my running back situation's like. I mean, it's very difficult to trade for running backs, especially at the higher up, and it's almost better if you can't get one of the top guys. You just have to reload, essentially, and just with how people view AJ Peck for running backs and stuff like that, it's a very quick window for these guys. It's Hopper and I, allude to, is the first rookie contract. Really, it's where you want to hit from, and then hopefully they get that second contract. But a guy like Najee, I mean, it's not even just a quarterback, right? It's with Mike Tomlin. He's been proven to be with with the system that's going to utilize the running back the way that it's great for fantasy. Regardless of how he is from an efficiency standpoint, there's no other running back that's almost guaranteed more work.
Yeah, and to the running back point real quick, too, you mentioned, you get them in your drafts. And, the other thing that we've learned over the last couple of years is, you can target running backs mid-tier or late, and you can still find value in there. You can find, if you grabbed a guy like Alex Madison a couple years ago. Well, he's given you a couple good games a year. Might not be a starter, might not be a guy you're going to plug into your lineup all the time, but you can, you have a good shot at hitting either a handcuff, a guy that has a solid role in an offense, like Nyheim Hines has flashed on again, off again. Ramondre Stevenson is a guy that fits that bill. More on him a little later. And then, even guys like Myles Gaskin, who are 7th rounders that you potentially picked up in the 4th round of your rookie draft, that, are they going to sustain success? It doesn't look like it. But you still got a solid year, a potential window to where you could capitalize on that value. So,
we just had 3 huge ones.
Yeah.
In Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah,
and
another one
James
where
Robinson and then now Elijah Mitchell.
And Lindsay's one of them also, like Gaskin, where if you got out at the right point in time, you absolutely got pretty decent ROI on that pick.
Yeah, same with Robinson too.
Yep.
We'll see about Elijah, but that one feels a lot more safe, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Who you targeting, Dan? Who's your guy that helped the stock the most?
Jalen Waddle.
Ah, you son of a...
I'm sorry, but I went through so many names, and Waddle just felt like, you can maybe put...
I had Waddle down too, which means I got to go pull up my notes on my second guy. Because Waddle's the guy that I had all of my notes on pulled up.
Waddle felt like the best call for it. John highlighting the ADPs. his historic as low as that.
It is, but
ADP
you're
of 70.
Still an asshole because
I know. And right now he's, his ADP is 15th overall. Maybe we've reached a high point, but he's with the perfect quarterback. Now, who knows how long Tua is going to be there, but I feel pretty confident Tua is going to finish out his rookie contract there at least. So that's 3 more years of Waddle being paired with a quarterback that he's built chemistry with since college. The target volumes there, the target shares there. While he's not competing against great target competition, Devonta Parker's had a breakout year. Mike Gesicki has commanded targets and we'll see what happens to Will Fuller. He'll probably take some drug again that'll help him stay healthy.
He's a free agent again, I think.
Is he a free agent? Either way. But his role is perfect for what we want from a dynasty receiver, young, productive, and he's going to get hyper targeted. What we want to see is that increase in ADOT.
Yep.
I would love to see him get utilized on more. But I don't think anybody here or anyone listening would be pissed off if they got a more explosive, a more athletic Jarvis Landry. And that's what Waddle's role is right now with this offense.
Yeah, they used him a ton, a lot.
He scores touchdowns.
He also scores touchdowns.
Six touchdowns, 104 receptions. Route charts showed that they did take some deep shots to him. Tua was surprisingly, actually pretty accurate throwing deep. They just didn't use Waddle deep. He was 103rd in average target distance with just 10 deep targets. But rookie, top 10 in catch rate, 18th in separation, very respectable drop rate, so pretty reliable. Wasn't really any holes that make you think that you suspect regression. And, with the low ADOT, 10th in yak, shows that you absolutely have some potential if that ADOT can increase. So I completely agree with that. What you want to see out of Waddle to unlock that next level is you just want to see them use him a little bit further from the line of scrimmage and increase that ADOT. Is that the other stuff holds steady, you've got Dynasty wide receiver 1 on your hands.
You got a guy who's already in that top 12.
I do too.
At least he's high 2, not wide receiver 2 overall, but a high wide receiver 2 in that 13 to 15 range. That if that ADOT increases and his role is expanded more downfield, like you said, that's top 5. That's potentially top 5.
Ahead of guys like CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins for me right now.
He so in terms of just value increase, stock up. Jalen Waddle was actually, I almost talked about him until I noticed Najee Harris, his jump. Jalen Waddle had a much bigger jump though in terms of value. He was in August. He was rookie 111, wide receiver 3 in the rookie class, wide receiver 32 overall, all the way up to startup pick 304, so 28th overall, and wide receiver 8 right now. And that feels a little low to me. I think that a year from now we're going to be talking about him
It feels just right. I mean, it may be a little high from where I have him, but we're talking a spot or two.
Yeah. I have him ranked lower than that, but in terms of value, I think that the consensus is going to have him
in the
well
best
within
part,
the wide receiver 5 range.
Like the best part is he gets lost. Like for how great he was, it feels like he's
lost behind.
He's acquirable.
Jamar Chase.
Like he's like he's lost behind. Like you said, Jamar Chase. Like even like just beyond rookies this year, it feels like no one cares about Miami, and the fact that because he doesn't get explosive plays all the time, people just don't care about him. And it was
a very quiet.
Oh
solid
God, it
rookie
was such
year.
I mean, I was a bit surprised how great it was when you look back at it, but the guys is producing, and we're seeing the shift in what an alpha receiver is supposed to look like. That's not the same anymore, and it's mold. It's starting to fit that.
Yep. All right. Well, you made me have to pivot, so we're going to my backup here because Jalen Waddle was also my pick for this, but my honorable mention, who I'm just going to pivot to, was Hollywood Brown.
Who was also who would have been my second one. Yes.
Yeah. So, as I'm looking through the AFC, it was kind of hard for me for somebody because the AFC's ahead of the NFC as far as established talent, right? So when I'm looking for people that help their stock, Marquis Brown really jumped out to me. He had a huge increase in target volume, bump up in catch rate, air yards and yards per reception were a little bit down, but the volume was a nice sustainable addition. It wasn't anything that you don't look at and say, well, he can't repeat that. Yes, it was at the sacrifice of some ADOT, but overall, volume's king. Volume's king can everything. And his yards after the catch went up over the previous year. So more catch and run roll because, again, ADOT down, 26.7 target share. It's a slight percentage uptake, but not a whole lot. That may slide back just a hair whenever they get a running game that isn't Devonta Freeman. But it's not going to, go into the tank entirely. He was 11th in air yards, 6th in unrealized air yards, which tells me that there's ceiling there to be had, which is a very welcome thing. So, to know that this wasn't necessarily his ceiling definitely helps us saying, that rose, but could go higher. 56th in our average target distance. So, again, that just tells me that more catch and run roll, and if you increase that ADOT, there's going to be more there. I think Marquise Brown took the steps that I wanted to see him take as far as being more than just somebody that you could target as a deep threat, a guy that could kind of pop is, a boom-bust guy. He showed a lot more consistency. He showed a lot more involvement in the offense. The role did change a little bit, but I think it was for the better as some of those other metrics came along with it to keep him elevated. He showed some ability to separate. And overall, I just think he's got a very, very solid ceiling that he has yet to hit. And you just hope that Lamar can continue to progress as a passer and support that and continue to support that growth. It's the one thing that I worry a little bit about with Baltimore is even as the receivers come along, if you look at Jackson, he hasn't necessarily come along with them.
I mean, at least with Jackson is when Brown was getting big plays.
He was getting
saw
peppered.
the low ADOT happen when Huntley took over.
Yeah.
Huntley was he's obviously limited with his athletic ability and limited with his arm talent, even though Lamar still struggles. Huntley was a perfect fit for keeping the ball, in front of receivers and catch, run, and goal. He played with more of that timing in a sense, and Brown with Andrews and with now Bateman, Lamar, I don't know if he'll ever take the next step as a passer, but if he's being utilized as much as he is downfield, Lamar is not afraid to throw the football downfield. I mean, we saw what he did the first 6-7 weeks of the season.
In low ADOT, he was still 8th in deep targets, so it's not like they weren't taking shots.
And that was, again, with Lamar, who didn't play the last 6 games. That's fantastic.
John can't see me eyeballing him.
I felt it. I'm just, man, I go back and forth on Hollywood. It's more just kind of speculation, I guess. I just wonder. I mean, I know the touchdown rate was a big part of it for him, at least early in the year.
Yeah.
And I just question, what it's going to look like with a fully healthy Bateman going into year 2, but I don't know. It was absolutely a stock increase. I just question if it was warranted.
Well, and say stock increase doesn't say that he's also not a guy you can look to move on. And what you just said right there, the presence of Bateman and the questions I have about Lamar is the reason I had Waddle ahead of him for this. So remember, I'm only talking Brown because Dan stole Waddle from me.
I mean, at least he's got double-digit targets in these games with Lamar.
Yeah.
Lamar at least has. We can talk about him all day. There's been some improvement even this year, with that improvement in the receiving core, with hopefully a healthy Bateman, Brown, and Andrews. I mean, it's good luck covering which one, right?
Right.
Lamar gets better at at his processing. It's that offense can just become what we see in Buffalo, and it's just good fucking luck.
And as far as Andrews goes, I mean, the only note I had for Andrews, I didn't even take notes on Andrews. The only note I have on Andrews is good at everything. So, I mean,
just
yeah,
stay healthy. And can Lamar actually be? I mean, a lot of his boom games came after Lamar got hurt.
Yep.
That's my one concern with Andrews.
All right, other side of this, Dan, we'll start with you this time. We'll roll it back. I don't want to talk twice in a row. I was going to start with myself, but I won't talk twice in a row. So we'll start with you.
Wow, you've grown so much. This is the guy who's the most hit. Laviska Shenault. This one does kind of hurt. I do like Shenault, but raw talent. Mixture of.
Real glad that I traded
Brown.
him to you before we got here.
I mean, yeah, then got in a deal that I'm trying to get worse at, right? It just worked out that way. I mean, when you couldn't take on more, even more, of a pass catching role when Travis Etienne goes down, when DJ Chark goes down, when you can't beat out guys named Marvin Jones,
Jamal Agnew, who also went down.
Laquan fucking Treadwell.
Jamal Agnew also went down, by the way.
I know. They all go down, and so does Laviska, and he's still healthy. Maybe it's Urban Meyer, maybe it's the Jacksonville offense, but 2 years of meh, with the guy who's supposed to, he's even more raw than Cordero Patterson, and they play similar roles, during their points in their, during these points in their career. It's his hit from him. Strawn ending to his rookie season in 2020 has now seen his value plummeted because of it. I mean, you look at his high point in January of last year, it was ADP of 60, and right now it's 113. I mean, I think people realize it, and this season did not help with so many opportunities to take over and nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Chenault's value was already in
I know.
No, his value was already in the toilet for me, so I can't really empathize with the downfall because I think I got off that train before you did. I understand why.
I mean,
it was the last straw
let's
for
be
you.
honest here that when we made that trade, Laviska Shenault wasn't the highlight of that package. There,
no,
so.
it was maybe there's something left. He was a throw.
It was like
not the
maybe
highlight
it
of
was
that package.
literally just urban. Like
yeah,
the only highlight is that he still has a Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback.
Right.
I don't think it'll happen, but who the fuck knows? I've been around before.
Anything on Shenault, John?
Yeah, no, not really.
I'm with you.
That's a good answer.
It's the only answer.
We're good.
It's a deserved answer.
It's a tough one for me because Colorado boy, but it just you just get to a point where there's absolutely no reason to continue to hold on and wait, and we're there.
No.
2 years of this. That's enough of us. That's enough from him for us to acknowledge that this one's not getting off the runway.
No, he's going back down.
Yeah.
All right, I want a little more we'll call it controversial and hot takey with mine. But I think it is stock down, even if it's not like far down. It's still stock down to me, and that's AJ Brown. With a nod and a shout out, honorable mention to DK Metcalf, because those two are tied at the hip. Coming to this season, and this is why it's stock down for me, I think that AJ Brown, a lot of people had him in the conversation for Dynasty wide receiver 1, right there with Justin Jefferson. And 2021 saw, one, injuries cost him games for the second straight year. You worry about that becoming a trend. But yards per reception fell from 15.4 to 13.8. Catch rate fell to a very mediocre 60%, which is not what you want from year one. And remember, he lost Corey Davis on the other side. Yards per target also fell. But the most concerning thing to me is that when you think of A.J. Brown, what resonates with me is Yak. He was a Yak monster. He's a guy that gets it done after the catch. And that went way, way down. Yards after catch per reception was cut nearly in half. Receptions per broken tackle, that skyrocketed, which is not a good thing, right? He went from a broken tackle every 5.4 receptions to one every 31.5. So, it's not to say that everything was bad. There's a potential for more volume there. Elite traits like what we saw at A.J. Brown's Yak don't just disappear in somebody that young. So, I don't wonder how banged up he was. We have heard of chronic knee issues with him. But it was very disappointing given that a lot of people were predicting a huge jump in a low-volume offense. Corey Davis is gone. Yeah, they brought in Julio Jones, but I think a lot of people were predicting a much bigger jump for A.J. Brown that didn't happen, and some of the things that made him hyper-efficient and some of those elite traits really disappeared this year. So, for me, it's stock down, and it's not like stock in the toilet. It's not Chenault, right, where you took all the value that he had and it went away. But I don't think that you're really talking A.J. Brown seriously as a dynasty wide receiver 1 after the year that he just put up.
Like the one or a top 12 receiver?
No, the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you still have him as a top 5 receiver?
Top 7, and the only reason I say that is because and he may be top 5 by the time I work through it all, because as you know, I'm working through that right now.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, Jefferson and Chase obviously would be ahead of him, and then I don't know if Waddle would be, just because I need to see a little more than that.
Lamb.
That's been my tier break.
I'm a little lower on Lamb than I should be. So he could be top 5. He's going to be in the 5 to 7 range, but that's a tier break, right? That's from top tier down a tier. So I wanted to take a little bit more higher degree of difficulty on this one.
It's all for it. It was just I was like, okay, I see where you go. You're right though. A lot of people had Brown as a Dino 1 after the 2020 season, and
yeah.
Not much has changed. Is that offense is,
Would you guys rather have Brown or Metcalf?
Brown.
Point? Yeah.
Brown.
And I think that it seems like drafters see it the same way. Like Metcalf actually had a much bigger drop in ADP. He's down to wide receiver 9.
He's disrespected too, which is funny because he's still a top 10 receiver in Dynasty, and yet it's all the concerns right now out in Seattle too.
I won't do it because we just talked about it, but next week when we do NFC, Metcalf would have absolutely been a guy I was looking at for the same reasons.
But I may even go out there and start throwing trade offers if Metcalf's being
that undervalued.
Woefully
it's the same thing with Brown, right? If anybody if it's my narrative won't catch fire, not enough pay attention to us. Somebody that matters has that narrative that catches fire, though. It's the same thing where I can kick tires because, like I said, it's stock down, but kind of in the opposite way of what, stock up doesn't mean. Yeah, stock down doesn't mean that you're not trying to potentially go out and trade for, right? It's a guy. It's somebody you could target because elite traits don't just disappear. But
Brown didn't have that. If Brown didn't have a great stat line against Cincinnati, he'd be even better. Playoff games will easily inflate value. looking at you, Gabe Davis.
I'm just
That it's
going off the top of my head. Jason Jefferson would be
they're in a tier of their own. I don't think
or
you
in
could
a
put
tier of
anyone in
their
the same
own. They
tier
would
as
be
that.
up there. I think that I've got Godwin and Waddle would be somewhere at least close. I don't like Deontay Johnson that much. CeeDee Lamb
No.
had some things with his profile along with T. Higgins that I don't necessarily super love.
It's just
from what I've
after
seen.
that Jefferson.
So it gets
uh,
pretty
chase
murky,
tier,
and you can
it's
throw them
very-
in any
It's
order.
super wide open. It feels
Yeah.
very wide open.
Yeah.
All right, John, who was your
Yeah.
Who's
who's
yours?
your
Man.
guy?
I had so many that I could talk about. I don't even.
You can say Baker if you want. It's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. That was the guy I picked.
I had picked Baker for the longest time. I'm like, I can't do just a quarterback. It's that one's too fucking obvious. That's probably why.
I know it is, but the problem is like his ADP dropped from quarterback 18 to quarterback 25. He's going behind Davis Mills at this point.
My God, that's
like,
so. It's
That's
just
so bad.
the hate's so real for him.
Yeah,
And it's very justifiable, but I always buy
It
him
goes a
because he's
little
so
too far,
fucking
right?
cheap, dude. It's
I
like
know.
it's like Josh Allen, Daniel Jones in their rookie draft cheap. Like it's what are we doing?
Yeah.
He's still starting quarterback.
Yeah, and
For now.
that's kind of why I bring him up. I mean, I have completely lost faith at this point, beyond the fact that he's going to be a starting quarterback for at least a season. Which, I mean, that's more than we can say for Davis Mills. Like Davis Mills could start in Houston, but it's far from a slam dunk. So, and to me in Superflex, when it comes to quarterbacks, the bottom line is, how secure is your job? Do you have a job? Start with that. Do you have a job? All right, then you've got some value to me. How secure is that job? I mean, if you're going to give me at least a full season, then that's pretty easily top. He still belongs in that quarterback 18 range, I would think. I can't give you a list of 18 quarterbacks that I feel like are going to be safe
He's
NFL
clumped
starters
up
in 2022.
He's clumped up with guys like Goff. He's clumped up with Tannehill. It's just, I do think that Baker needs to change the scenery. I really do. I think his career could go the same way of Jameis, where I mean he doesn't have the turnover, but he like the massive turnover issue, but he used to be first overall pick, didn't work out with the original team, and now he has to sit on somewhere, and we'll see what happens. And Jameis has found himself valuable for a few years after that his time was done in Tampa Bay. I think Baker's potentially on that path.
There's a little extra weight on the shoulder of the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback, and it's going to be that way for a while. It's going to take something extra special
It's going to take them not
to stick, because
I'm passing on Deshaun Watson and Patrick. No, I'm kidding, but
yeah. But and I mean, just the guys that they've missed on, over the years.
Yeah.
So, with Couch and Quinn, and it's kind of to a point where I think that
Manziel.
Manziel, of
That was
course,
so obvious. So, my God.
McCown.
Kaiser, even, it's just
There you go, Dan. There's a throwback for
Kaiser.
you. Deshaun Kaiser.
Kaiser. That was so bad. I mean, not much better.
That was
Man,
Dan's
bad then.
QB1 in 2017.
3 weeks into scouting. God
Nice.
damn it. At least I had Mahomes as my number 2. That's all I could say. I got something kind of right.
I think I was Trubisky Mahomes.
I do just kind of wonder how much of it with these Browns quarterbacks is that they just kind of get buried under the pressure, So,
I think Baker may. I mean, it's funny because you can kind of go on the opposite end. The Browns finally have stability at the quarterback position with Baker potentially, and the Browns haven't had that since they've been back into the NFL. So I'm wondering if there's some pressure from Cleveland to want to give Baker a bridge deal, the way that Jacksonville gave theirs to Bortles.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, I went with another. Well, this one isn't controversial once I explain why I do this. So, Next category is trade away. And everybody kind of has defined different.
Breakout.
What's that?
Are we skipping breakout or are you just
No, I've got them in a different order on the sheet I'm looking at, so I'm doing whatever the hell I want. I'm looking at my note sheet. They're not in the same order as they are on the show script. I'm doing what I want.
Motherfucker.
So, my trade away guy, and I define this differently, right? This is what we call sell. There's a lot of people that believe that you sell guys at peak value, and I don't subscribe to that because if you're constantly churning guys at peak value, you're never going to have sustained success.
Nope.
I subscribe to the fact that success with most players is a bell curve. And you're going to come up, and then you're going to come down and start to come down. And where I want to catch my sell window is on the top end of the downside of that bell curve. And it's not an exact science, obviously. It's hard to predict regression sometimes. But that's kind of where I want to catch it. I don't want to catch it on the upswing. I don't want to catch it at the peak, especially if that peak's going to sustain for a couple of years. I want to catch it as you start to go towards the downside. So keep that in mind. I'm okay with trading a player that might be very solid for another year or two after I trade him because of the value that I'm going to get back. I don't want to trade a guy that has good value for 4, 5, 6 years because I think he might have peaked.
Yeah, that's just bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all of that in mind, the guy that I'm looking to trade away potentially this offseason is Stephon Diggs.
Ooh. I like it.
So, just some things that I noticed. Receptions dropped tremendously year over year. And all of their metrics were pretty close to the same. But you had a little bit of a reduction in target quality from Josh Allen. So that tells me that you may have already peaked in that relationship, right? Because Josh Allen had an insane year, which Diggs benefited from. There's a bit of regression there. Slightly down in yards per target. He was still second in air yards, but 38th in average target distance. So maybe a little bit of a role change. What really stuck out to me, though, for a guy that's a big route runner and who had previously been really good in the contested catch zone, 72nd in separation, 44th in contested catch. That's down from 17th the year before. When you can't separate and you don't win contested balls, that's not necessarily a recipe for good things. And he also went from 11th in the league in YAC to 38th. So it's not that Diggs has this huge downward trend for me. It's not that I look at his profile and say, oh, he's going to be a total bust next year. It's that I see some things in that profile that are starting to become a little bit concerning to me, to where it's like, all right, if I want to get max value out of this, maybe not peak value, but I want to get my max value out of this before there starts to be more of a regression. This is the time that I need to start thinking about it. This is another higher degree of difficulty type of narrative. But at 28 years old, as you're coming out of that wide receiver peak with some concerning things in the profile, this is where I'm going to start looking very closely and thinking about, potentially trading away Diggs, especially with the saturation of the wide receiver market, the infusion of young talent, and again, what figures to be another relatively deep receiver class coming in, even though there isn't a consensus top end.
It's just a really good top end. That's what it feels like. I don't hate the call. I mean, generally when a wide receiver's reached that peak, and if Diggs' calling card, which is, route running and being able to win in both man and zone coverage, I'll wait for Matt Harmon's reception perception to kind of see where he tracks it. Maybe there's just overall regression in the offense. Diggs' touchdown rate, I think, went down.
It did.
It took a long time for him to start scoring touchdowns in that offense. And maybe it was Buffalo giving more veteran love to Emmanuel Sanders for some fucking reason. So I don't dislike it. I mean, you should always be looking at it's tough because when you get into that age spot, it starts to, you have to start to look at it. Okay, what does my roster look like now? What is my roster going to look like in a couple of years? And it's a guy like Diggs who's closing the 30. is he going to be able to be a staple on my team? And is it that time now to try to capitalize on the assets I can get in return to better out my trade currency so I can, bolster my roster and also gain depth? So, yeah, it's a good call out. I mean, it's the same thing that people have been battling with like guys like Devontae Adams, with Hopkins, Julio, well before that.
And the thing I'll tack on,
running backs like Derrick Henry now.
Yeah, and the thing I'll tack on to what you said there, right? If you're at a dynasty league that's been going for more than a couple of years, you have likely drafted somebody that potentially is at a Diggs level or might be standing to surpass it. That also might make him expendable within your roster. I'm not saying that
if you're not competing,
if
you don't feel like you're going to be competitive, I mean, it never hurts.
Or even if you are, but you have a surplus at wide receiver.
I mean, if you're just looking to have an upgrade at a position that, if you can, bolster your running back, right? Well, that's the one thing that, that's the one position that kills a championship run outside of quarterback and superflex is the running back position. It can completely decimate your championship run.
Yeah. John, what's your thoughts on that Diggs take, and who's your trade away?
I kind of like that one, by the way. I mean, you're about to lose your offensive coordinator there as well.
Yeah.
Scheme change is going to make some.
God, if Josh Allen tanks, just imagine Twitter if Josh kind of regresses to something between 2019 and 2021.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, God, will burn.
Back-to-back quarterback one overall seasons. I mean, the bar is just set a little bit too high anyways, but yeah, there's he's not going to do that again, and there's some very obvious reasons for it. And if assuming that is the case, Stephon Diggs is one of the guys that gets hit. Gabriel Davis also not going to get quite the breakout that people are expecting, kind of for the same reasons. But yeah, my only problem with Diggs is probably last year would have been the time to really do it when he was kind of a top 3 dynasty wide receiver for a lot of people. And now he's a wide receiver 9. So, it's wide receiver 11.
But
that fits. As Hopper alluded to, he's still in the upper echelon, but he is.
Yeah. And that's exactly, and that plays into exactly how I said I target when I'm trying to trade guys away, right? The upper echelon's going to happen. I want to ride the upper echelon. I want to get them when that dip first starts and then let somebody else deal with the rest of the dip. So I might not be getting max value. You're absolutely right. Last year was the time to do it if you're trying to maximize your value. Right. I'm okay with getting maybe a tier below max value, knowing that I got that player's best years.
Yeah. So while I agree on not trading away max production, just because it's not necessarily quote unquote sustainable, like that's a bad reason to sell. I do like to sell kind of at max value when it's just like beyond what's realistic for that particular player.
And folks, this is how you have a difference in philosophies and discuss it respectfully, because not everybody plays the same, and it doesn't mean one's right or wrong.
Here? Is that okay?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Fuck,
right?
Man, I've been doing it all wrong then. I'm kidding.
Let's see how respectful you guys.
Oh God, what are you gonna say? Are you saying Patrick Mahomes?
Not Patrick Mahomes.
Josh Allen?
Not quite. No. In the same it's a different position, but the same range in startup drafts. I'm trading away Jamar Chase right now.
Oh yeah,
I'm trading away Jamar Chase because the value is
balls. The balls on this guy.
This is the exact opposite way of the way I went, but I think I get this argument, which is that
John, man, go ahead and
he's playing recency bias here, and I love it.
I love it. Just all the fire, buddy.
Yeah. Well, in there, the recency bias is a big part of it. Right now, he's going in the first round of startup drafts. You could really kind of say the same thing about Justin Jefferson, but I think that you're going to get a greater return even for Jamar Chase right now. And he's going ahead of most, if not all, of these running backs. He might even be going.
I think Jonathan Taylor is the only one he's not ahead, right? Though I think it's just him that he's not ahead.
Yeah, you're right. Taylor's still ahead of him, but he's going ahead of in super flex drafts. He's going ahead of several quarterbacks, most of the running backs, it just the big thing is wide receiver is such a replaceable position. The fact that you can get Jalen Waddle, who we talked about earlier, with a pretty big plus, a pretty big kicker for Jamar Chase. And how often is Jamar Chase actually going to outscore Jalen Waddle by another player? Like the one time that he catches it, he goes, what was it, 264 and 3 touchdowns or whatever?
Yeah.
In your fantasy championship, that was awesome. You're not going to get that again from him. And that's the only time that he returns so much production over replacement that it's actually worth it to give away any other player with that much sweetener to get Jamar Chase. Like that's the only time that he's that much better than any other wide receiver was that the one time that he had just the all-time outlier week. That's not going to happen again. You're easily going to make up the difference between Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf. You're going to make up the difference in whatever it is you're getting along with that wide receiver for Jamar Chase.
I wonder if you could trade Jamar Chase and what you can get on top of Justin Jefferson. I feel like you can find, I mean, Hopper and I know we were at firsthand the most insane Jamar Chase trade, really just trade in general that I've seen.
In our league it was 5 firsts. I'm pretty sure
5 firsts because I mean we all think it's because he doesn't really know how to draft well. He
doesn't trust himself to draft.
He doesn't trust himself in the draft.
Yeah.
But I mean he's shown before that he's a very aggressive trader, which I'm all good with. Like do you boo?
Your MO.
Yeah, the fact that 5 firsts, 6 firsts for I mean, granted, you're getting top 3 wide receiver in Dynasty. That it's hard to see that change unless Cincinnati decides to go really balanced. But
Cincinnati is really balanced, though, right? I mean, Mixon had 300 plus touches. It's just they ran a ton of plays.
They just and that's what we want. It's just how is that sustainable?
Tyler Boyd isn't long for that offense.
Well, that too, and then if the defense improves, that may slow down pace of play.
And I agree with this take though that you're going to get more out of Chase than Justin Jefferson. It's not necessarily because I have Chase ahead of Jefferson. It's just old and busted, new hotness. Old and busted though, because recency bias in this industry. It's only a year ago, but new hotness.
I mean, he broke his record, but it took an extra game to get there.
Yeah,
actually, I don't think it did. I think he broke it prior to that, but
still,
either way.
And I mean, there's still an argument for Chase in that he's tied to a young quarterback who he's got familiarity with.
Who's also incredible, by the way.
Yeah, which Jefferson, we have no idea who the quarterback is.
Kellen Mond.
In 2 years, God, please don't. We're gonna get a guy that could be the next Josh Allen.
I actually like Kellen Mond, but
I know
I don't like Kellen Mond.
I like Kellen Mond conditionally.
Yeah, yeah. It just feels like a roster that's probably not built for a rebuild type of quarterback. But I don't know. Anyways, so I'm not questioning what Jamar Chase is going to do going forward. I think that he absolutely belongs in the top 2, for dynasty wide receivers. I think he's going to continue to perform that way. I just think it's people don't realize how easy it is to replace that wide receiver scoring.
I'll say this: the best way to kind of get better at dynasty, put Jamar Chase. Let's see, you have Jamar Chase in your roster. Just put him on the trade block.
Yeah,
just see what first off, it's always smart to know what your league mates value your players at. That's the best way to find value pocket. Like the best way to get an idea of what you can get for a player, and it could change everything. Like the guy that traded away Jamar Chase in this league, he didn't want to. He fought tooth and nail, but at some point, value is value. And granted,
Yeah.
his roster was a bit struggling, in the fact that now he can rebuild his roster with 5 extra first-round picks. Also great, but it's so much currency to have and to be able to move around the roster and stuff like that. It's you gotta know what the league also views your player, and that's the best example for it.
Yep. If I was going to be on for the NFC, I would have talked about Cooper Kupp, though. He's way more of a trade away than Jamar Chase is to me.
But I still don't think you can get as much as Jamar Chase.
No.
I think you may even be able to I think you could almost get close to Justin Jefferson for Cooper Kupp. You can get pretty close in value, I think. Maybe not his peak, but I think you can get pretty close in trade value for Kupp.
Yeah.
In comparison to Jefferson.
It's definitely possible. I think Kupp's going as wide receiver 6. That's like CeeDee Lamb territory, Tyreek Hill territory. So, it's definitely not quite the return as those younger guys, but he's also far less likely to replicate what he just did than Jamar Chase is.
I'm so excited with having Kupp in that role.
Yeah,
with Stafford. I mean, to see what he did with Golden Tate in Detroit. But you're right though. He's not gonna, put up Michael Thomas type of numbers again.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do mine, and we can move on. Another Bills player. Stop Gabe Davis. I was very close to putting it, but I think that's too obvious. I think at this point, everyone wants to talk about Gabe Davis. I've seen
they do after this
arguments
weekend
on Twitter. It's insane. I put Devin Singletary down. And you're basically capitalizing the fact that people view this Buffalo backfield, as a gold mine. Devin Singletary's not a good running back. He's not athletic. He's small. He can't catch the football. Thankfully, he's getting targeted. That's the only saving grace to it. And the backfield's bad. So he's winning out competitions, but he lost opportunity and snaps. Both Zach Moss and Matt Breida this year, both running backs that we all can claim aren't very good. Singletary is being propped up by playing on the best offensive football. He's got the best game script per playerprofiler.com, the best game script out of any running back in the league. He's seeing a light base front 70% of the time. He has to basically make one linebacker miss to hit his big hole. That's great. We want to see that. Why do we want to trade and propped up bad players, though? This is at the running back position. Wide receiver, longer retained value. You get a guy like Singletary who could easily be replaced. And it doesn't have to be a high draft pick. Doesn't have to be a high name in free agency. I hope that he, quote unquote, survives that could drive up that value, because all it takes is a last second addition to this roster in August. He is the new Ronald Jones. He's being propped up off of a nice finish to a year in which he battled with replacement level running backs through the middle and early part of the season. And then all it takes is just one move. And Buffalo thankfully doesn't know that they're running, or thankfully know that their running backs suck. They don't need to run the football a lot. It's just it all is beautifully manifesting to the fact that Singletary is, in my mind, it's becoming the next Ronald Jones, which is not a good running back that's being propped up in value by a good offense. And then I think what caps it all off is that he had 5 goal line carries this season. So he doesn't even have the touchdown upside. All of that's being based off of, explosive plays. And it's hard to bank on those. So if you can get a good return in, and that's where that value is going to now be lied in. It's how do your league mates value Devin Singletary? But I'm going to, capitalize off of the strong finish of the year and the strong postseason, and try to move off of him before the value comes out under him when Buffalo inevitably brings in another running back to compete in this backfield.
So wait, who was your trade-off? Sorry.
Oh, my fucking...
I wasn't paying attention to you.
I know you weren't.
That's awesome.
I was trying to sell bourbon.
Even
Devin
better.
Singletary.
Oh,
It's also
great.
one of the few positions that really needs to be addressed by Buffalo at this point. So,
And why? But again, why
Fantastic.
would you too?
What a great bridge. So I'm going to talk my hold now.
You're holding. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if
This could be your point. Yeah, this is perfect.
no, this is perfect because you've heard me do this before and take the same stuff to twist it into a different opinion on a player. And this is a microcosm. What's about to happen on the show is a microcosm on what happens on Twitter every day and with everybody else. You can
very
take
much.
whatever numbers you want and paint whatever narrative you want, and to get somebody to believe it is all about the sell job you do. Numbers don't lie, but how you frame the numbers will tell you a lot.
I love this. This is my favorite game.
So this is a fun game, right? So my hold is Devin Singletary, and the reason isn't because I don't think Buffalo is going to eventually try to address this, right? The reason is that I think you just might, at the beginning of the season, get a little bit more peek out of what Devin Singletary is.
I love it.
So
It's the delayed sell.
it's the delayed sell is what it is, and that is exactly
why-
what it is.
This is why I love you. This is like Darrell
So,
Henderson all over again.
As you get to the end of the season, Devin Singletary, Devil Singletary, Sarah.
Devil Singletary.
Devin Singletary took over in that backfield. I don't think there's any debating that.
Nope.
Matt Breida disappeared. Zach Moss disappeared. That was Devin Singletary's backfield. He had a 70-plus snap percentage over the last 4 weeks, including 3 weeks over 80%, was used in the playoffs. His rush attempts increased. He maintained a 4.5-plus yards per attempt, 13.6 touches per game. You don't love it. That's good enough to be an RB2 in today's NFL. He was 7th in routes run, so primary receiving back in a high-volume passing offense. 5th in breakaway run, 7th in breakaway run rate, so you had some explosiveness there. That was while being 23rd in the league in carries. So the percentage there, breakaway run rate, top 10, is what really stands out because you're 23rd in the league in carries, but you're 5th in breakaway runs. You are chunking some plays off there, and that has helped a lot by Josh Allen in opening up the field. Other than that, 13th in evaded tackles, 15th in juke rate. Those are all pluses showing that he's creating a little bit from himself. He did see a lot of light fronts, 4th most in the league. That's going to happen as long as the Bills are slinging the football all over the field. And the reason that I say this is a hold is because Devin Singletary didn't take hold on that backfield until the very, very end of the season, where there's already a negative perception of the Bills' backfield, and a lot of people aren't paying attention at that point. Because they're eliminated, they're not in their playoffs. I mean, anybody, John, you probably see this too. Anybody with a podcast that pays attention to numbers know that the further you get into the season, the more people stop paying attention. You ramp up before the season, everybody's excited for it. You get into the season and you start to trend down because nobody's watching. Nobody's paying any freaking attention.
It's all because all the casuals are done.
So the last 4 weeks, Devin Singletary breaking out, or starting to break out, not a lot of people can be on that one. So you hold it, and again, this is perspective as of today. Talk to me after the draft. It might change if they do something.
I think
here.
He's going to survive. I don't think
he
Buffalo's going to draft
because
I think
they haven't.
Like
It's
round pick.
It's been a need for the last several years. I don't think they draft somebody either.
They
So
spent 2 third-round picks in the last 3 years on running backs.
he's on the last year of his contract, though, too. So what it is you let him go into next year. You let that trend continue into next year. And then he's a guy you let go of at peak value because he's not somebody I look at and say, oh, yeah, he's going to sustain that through his first contract. He doesn't have the history of productivity to do that.
And, Buffalo's already showing us that they don't really care about the running back position. So, I mean, maybe he gets like a 2 or 3 year deal, cheap contract. Sure.
My honorable mentions there, by the way.
I love that. That's great.
I've got an honorable mention there, by the way, of Dawson Knox, and then a shout out to Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, the 2 Patriots backs. So, anyway, whichever one of you wants to go next.
John, you can give your. What are your thoughts on Singletary? And then you can give your hold candidate.
Man, that's tough. Yeah, I guess he's more of a hold for me. Just
boom,
because I
sell job.
You both weren't even listening to my quote unquote pitch. I'm terrible at pitches.
I listened. I think Hopper makes a very compelling case. I also just don't know what you're necessarily going to get for Devin Singletary at this point.
I mean, you can use it as a trade up. Like the way that I view Gabe Davis in the same way is that you use this this great momentum that they're on, and 1-for-1 moves probably isn't the right call, like you said. I think name value isn't there, but you use that as a prop piece along with like a first overall and try to move into another player, whether that be, I don't know, Swift, which would be hard to do, but guys like you're trying to improve the stability of your roster by moving a piece like Singletary, who's not very stable after this year, and even more so and then this year as well.
Yeah, which is it's going to be a little tougher this year than most. For the last several seasons, I've been talking a lot on the Superflex Super Show about the running back saturation point, and we got to that. We got to an oversaturation point where it felt like there wasn't really room for the incoming rookie class because every NFL team seemed to be pretty set at running back. And now we're back on the downslope to a point where it's really hard to find, and it's really hard to identify the running backs with NFL starting jobs that you're going to feel good about going into 2022. And for me, a big part of it is getting rid of some of the guys, back to, what you guys were saying about the kind of just beyond the peak of the bell curve. Like, I think that we're there with Kamara. I think we're there with Dalvin Cook. I think we're there with Christian McCaffrey. We've been past there for a while with Ezekiel Elliott, and people are just now starting to catch on.
Right.
And there are a handful of other guys that if we're not there, we're getting close,
Yeah. No, I agree.
And it makes it really tough to figure out some of these running back situations. Who are some guys that you want to invest in? Now's a good time to do it. And the problem is, Devin Singletary seems to be one of the safe guys who doesn't have a whole lot of value, despite the fact that he is in, fairly rarefied air in terms of job security. So I guess I would hold him for that reason. I'm with you on the fact that I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either. I just think you're going to get better value if you hold them into next season and then try to make.
I mean, you
move.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Like, I think Mac's point is waiting right after the draft because most people are begging. A lot of the guys that I trust or that I respect in this space, a lot of them are pegging Buffalo to take one of these top backs.
And when they don't,
they have a larger voice, far larger voice than what Hopper and I do. And when they don't, because they're smart and they won't, then that value is going to bump up because they're going to see Zach Moss and Matt Breida Breida's probably gone. They'll see Zach Moss and insert some other shitty backup to go alongside with them, and then they're going to go, look at here. Fool's gold again. I mean, it could pay off, sure.
It's exactly what happened with Gaskin last year.
Yeah.
Mike Davis.
Yeah.
Which, you have, two opposite spectrum, not two opposite, but, same spectrum.
Yeah.
All right, John, who's your hold?
I don't have one written down.
There you go. Devin Singletary.
Great piggyback. Love it.
Off the top of my head, I'm going to say Zach Wilson.
There you go.
Is a hold for me. Actually, Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore is definitely old. Zach Wilson, Drew Lock 2.0. I love it.
Yeah. Man, I loved Zach Wilson going into the draft, and I don't know, kind of back to your point, Hopper, on Singletary about people kind of missed the late season breakout,
right?
Because they didn't care anymore. I think we kind of saw that with Zach Wilson too.
He started running the football. It was great.
The
production went up.
The last 5 games, he had no picks. He showed he could use his legs. It was, not necessarily overall inspiring, but I think Miguel Chapton pointed out, he was doing QB AYA all season, and that Zach Wilson was like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but it was just kind of a gradual improvement all season, which is what you want to see. Not everybody's going to come in and light up the league right away, especially at quarterback on a, dysfunctional team with a new staff that's trying to implement culture and implement a bunch of changes around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, second year in the system with a full off season in between. Elijah, he'll have Elijah Moore healthy. He'll have Corey Davis healthy. There's a potential that they even add another wide receiver in a pretty deep rookie class.
Oh, the outside receivers that could be paired with Elijah Moore.
Yes.
I mean, I was probably the lowest on Wilson. I'm assuming, between Hopper and I was, and probably between myself,
you
John.
know that because we had Wilson and Fields right next to each other, and we just argued about it like we were miles apart.
Well, Wilson did what I expected him to do, was that struggle against any competition because he didn't face any in college. So, and that gets compounded by playing in New York.
Fields did what I expected him to do, which is show some of the same flaws that he showed in college. I mean,
yeah. I mean, not everybody can be Justin fucking Herbert.
Right.
Like we've been spoiled. That's the problem. We've been spoiled.
We have been spoiled. And when you get spoiled, you lose sight of things like, gradual upward trends. And
he's kind of my low key buy in Superflex.
The other thing I'll say about Wilson,
I'm not getting him in single QB, but in Superflex, Wilson it's cheap.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it is a super flex, dude. Yes,
sir.
One thing I will say about Zach Wilson also that I don't think can be understated, and I talked about this when they brought him in. When you bring a young quarterback into the league, it's not only important to have a good infrastructure around them, not just from the coaching staff, but from the staff of who are their teammates, who are the backup quarterbacks that are in their ear, who's helping them out. And Zach Wilson really didn't have that at the beginning of the season. And I don't think it's a negligible point that when he started to show improvement was after the Jets brought Joe Flacco back in.
Elite.
Yeah. So, I think that the Flacco trade was kind of twofold. One, they needed a quarterback from an emergency perspective. But two, I do think that kind of aided in Zach Wilson's development a little bit and helped him to kind of settle down and straighten things out because, there was kind of that veteran peer there with him at that point to help out with that.
Yeah.
Did we get
all right, mine?
Oh, no, you've got one.
I got one.
Okay.
We can do mine quick. Mine's also a wide receiver, rookie wide receiver. Briefly mentioned earlier, Rashad Bateman.
Yes.
People are trying to move away from the Baltimore passing system narrative from Lamar Jackson. The fact that Bateman was able to carve out a role, missing the first 5 weeks of the season, coming into a pretty heavily, top veteran style receiving room with established talents like Brown and Andrews, and adding a guy like Watkins in, who's a great mentor for a guy like, Bateman, because they'll operate, in that same role. Bateman was able to carve out that role, get double-digit targets, not only with Lamar Jackson, but with Tyler Huntley. I don't know if he got it with Josh Johnson, but either way, Bateman proved to us that he is talented enough to command targets in a wide receiver room that won't change next year because all the starters were healthy throughout the season. Mm-hmm. And not going to miss the early part, not going to miss the most important part of his rookie year. This upcoming year, hopefully he can stay healthy throughout that. This one feels like it's an easy hold to make, and it's coming close to a buy territory with the influx of new receivers coming in and the excitement of getting them. You can see guys like Bateman can get lost in this mix, and you can get them for probably even decent value for what you paid for them. What would it have cost you in drafts last year? So Bateman's an very easy hold for me.
Yeah, Bateman did a lot of things that I think I also agree with the hold. When you look at the statistical profile, 65+% catch rate, just over 500 yards, respectable yards per reception. That's after missing 5 games. He also, one of the biggest things for me is that he showed an ability to win contested balls. And the knock on Bateman coming in was, can't separate. Well, it doesn't matter if you have body positioning and you can win contested catches. It matters to your longevity. It doesn't matter to your upside necessarily. And the profile
was also a false narrative too. He was a good separator in college.
And the profile stacks up to that. It's a good foundation. It's good to build on. And you're right. He is a hold. We've been spoiled. We've been spoiled by top-end receivers and this mentality that if you're not good year one, you're not going to be good, and that's just, ultimately not the case. And I think Bateman laid a good foundation. You want to see him improve on that in year two? Absolutely. But that's why he's a hold.
I mean, in most times people forget just how difficult it is to learn a wide receiver. Like the transition from college to pros at wide receiver is one of the hardest to make. It's said by so many different guys smarter than me in the space. We'll always highlight to that it's very difficult to move on from that. And when you miss key moments in his development in his first year, like he did, and then be able to come in and get respect from the coaches in his first game back is more so, to that point that Bateman's role is going to massively increase next year. And that's what you want to wait for.
All right. Last category. We'll wrap this up. What is the last category?
Breakaway bounce back.
It is breakout or bounce back. Dan, you just talked. John, we'll start with you on this one. I'll go last. It's a guarantee nobody's taking my guy.
Challenge accepted.
I kind of doubt anyone's taking my guy either. Actually,
it's all going to happen. We all have the same guy.
All the same guy.
That'd be crazy. That if either of you guys even thought about this guy, I will be thoroughly impressed.
Oh my God, who is it? Now I'm very intrigued.
And actually, Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore would have fit here too. But the guy I wrote down is Dernish Johnson, who I think
You're right. I did not think about that guy.
Not at all.
Very few people do. And by the way, the answer is not Travis Etienne. It's not J.K. Dobbins. Those are not going to be bounce back candidates in 2022. No. They're going to be bounce back candidates in 2023. But yeah, for now, Dernish Johnson played like a feature back type of player for the Browns with both Chubb and Hunt hurt. Somebody's going to get. They're going to get an upgrade at running back just by signing or trading for whatever it takes. I'm not even sure for the number 3 running back on the deepest running back group in the league. So
yeah, easily.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, Dernish Johnson is going to be in line for a starting job somewhere here in 2022.
I'm on the same boat. It's not about a player that's on a current roster. It's the expectation that they leave and that value bump gets improved wherever.
All right, Dan's breakout is Antonio Brown, is what I just heard. This is bounce back.
Deontay Foreman. Foreman.
Yes.
It's mine.
He already kind of bounced back.
I mean, that's the thing, though. He's not on contract. He's not under contract in this offseason. And he kind of took over for that late role when Henry went down, when it wasn't, Jeremy McNichols, when it wasn't, Adrian Peterson. It took him a little bit to get going. But you look at what he did towards the end of the year. You look at what he did in his total yards production during that time. 3 games with over 100 total yards, 3 touchdowns this year. Yes, not involved in the passing game, but you look at a running back that can definitely blow up a running back room, Buffalo, that could massively improve that and get and be able to be a team's new goal line back and be able to get the high value carries in which you want. Yes, you're not getting pass catching volume, which sucks, but Foreman's a great candidate to fit for that. If he moves on, when he moves on to a new team, because I think he will, you're going to get someone who's going to compete and potentially take over that RB1 spot. Best time to get him is now, before free agency hits and before we get an answer for where he is. You are taking that risk.
He's going to Buffalo and just throwing all of our narratives into.
That's what I said. Like, I want him to go to Buffalo. Like, that was my first thought was, beat out the shit that's there and be the rightful goal line back to prevent Josh Allen from taking unnecessary hits that he does. I mean, no one wants to see Josh Allen design run plays. That's the last thing any of us should want to see. These design 3-run plays. Stupid. Get the fuck out of here with that. Bring in a guy like Foreman who can handle that. and it's that perfect fit.
And
So,
Tennessee would be crazy to let him go.
With as good as he was, as
which
a
is my
Henry
also
backup,
concern
yeah.
too. But I mean, Derrick Henry, he outplayed Henry, not obviously coming back from his own injury, but I mean, he's a big back with a foot injury, man. I get scared of seeing big athletes with foot injuries.
Yeah,
I'm a big basketball fan. That's why. That shit makes me nervous. And we may not see the same Derrick Henry, and maybe Foreman, who was productive in this offense, if he stays there, is still a value bump, even
for sure.
And remember, Foreman was like one of everybody's favorite sleepers out of that draft class, and then he tore his Achilles. It took him a while to work back from it, but he never did anything to show that he couldn't produce. He just got hurt.
And then when he got his opportunity, when he was finally healthy, he leaves, the Colts and gets his opportunity with a bad backfield in Tennessee. After Henry goes down, and he becomes, a high RB2, during your fantasy championship runs.
Gonna end up in a Kyle Shanahan backfield just to screw with you.
God, just to fuck with Elijah Mitchell truthers, just to see them wrap their heads around that. Hopper, what's yours? And we can get out of here.
Michael Carter is mine.
I like that one.
Pegging him for a breakout. Year one, he missed time, but he had 964 scrimmage yards while missing time. So just short of 1,000 scrimmage yards. Pretty good for a rookie on a dysfunctional offense. 55 targets. It's great target volume. 4.3 yards per attempt. He had some usage in the slot, a good amount of passing work. 41% of routes he participated in, so he's got the receiving floor. 12th among backs in yards per reception, so there's some efficiency there. He's top 20 in yards per touch, 30.1% juke rate, good for 14th. 6th in yards after catch per reception. So overall, it's a good rookie year. The ability to create for himself in college absolutely translated to the NFL. The Jets are using him in a position where he can be successful, getting him involved in space, involved in the passing game. High percentage throws for a guy like Zach Wilson. Get a full year of healthy Michael Carter. You got a back that's going to be over 1,000 scrimmage yards easily. And he's not a slouch in the run game either. I know he's only 5'8" and a little bit undersized, but even in college, he showed that he can work between the tackles as well, not just in space as a receiving specialist. 4.3 yards per attempt kind of shows that, because that is as a runner. And I think that everything in Michael Carter's profile tells me that he translated well to the NFL level, and that he can continue that climb.
If he can carve himself out to that Deion Lewis type of role, that's all for it. I don't know if he'll ever be a bell cow.
Who is now,
which
right?
is fine.
Your top three backs are the only things that are bell cows now. So.
Yeah, which is absolutely fine, right? It's if he's going to get the target volume, which should have been his calling card, which is great that the Jets didn't fuck that up. So I'm not a huge Michael Carter stan, but that's mainly because I thought he was getting overvalued in rookie drafts easily. And now that value is kind of gone, now he's reached a point where he seems, rightfully attainable. And he's had breakout games. He had it with Zach Wilson. He had it with Joe Flacco. He had it with Mike White. He had it with Josh Johnson. So he's showing production through multiple starting quarterbacks and
if that offense continues to trend up, it's only going to get better for him too.
Yeah, it's we'll see how he progresses and grows with Zach Wilson getting there, Elijah Moore, and everybody else.
For somebody that said she didn't want to be on camera,
I know they keep fucking they act like they own the place or something.
Straight walk through on camera.
It's totally her house, so yeah, she definitely owns the place. No.
And that whole Jets offense is just in for a big bounce back, and it's so crazy to be talking this way about the Jets, but like weird, legitimately excited about that whole offense.
They take Drake London or I don't know if I want them to take Burks, but if they take London or even another bigger wide receiver to play outside to complement Elijah Moore, it just makes me moist. Just let's go.
Yeah. Big wide receiver out of the draft on one side, Corey Davis on the other side with Elijah Moore in between. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
And some nice
Hopefully
tight
Zach
ends
Wilson
available.
could get better. yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's a good tight end class. What I keep hearing.
Yeah, and the free agency class is going to be that was 2017 rookie class is available all of a sudden. So, Njoku and OJ Howard.
Yeah.
Man, there's
Evan
some,
Ingram, man, they're all
Yeah.
going to be.
Evan
Who would
Ingram.
have thought all three of them
Well,
not getting a second contract with the original team?
And Evan Ingram actually, other than the fact that he's on the Giants, everything underlying for Evan Ingram looks really, really good. So,
Yeah.
and he
He
doesn't.
gets mocked for his drops so much, and it's like, dude,
His drops aren't even that
your
bad.
drops are bad. Or, like, you can't drop the football if you're not getting targeted. The guy gets targeted. It's all we care about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and he wouldn't even have to move.
Right?
Yeah.
He could literally just stay in the basement. If he
Change
wanted to.
uniforms.
Yeah, that's right. Hold on. Let me get my Jets uniform real quick.
Yeah. It's twice on camera now for somebody that doesn't want to be on camera.
ESP. I don't know what to tell you.
That's what happens when you do 2-hour shows. That's our show. John, tell the people where they can find you, because this was probably our best show in a bit. Because great conversation.
Yeah, man, this was it's always fun to catch up with you guys. You're two of my favorite dudes, two of my friends in this community. And
Right.
next time I'm hosting over on the
Okay.
Superflex
Yes,
Super Show.
please,
do it.
buddy. Let's do it, man. It's been
Which-
too long. We can get Travis back.
yeah, maybe he probably doesn't know shit anymore.
He's quit fantasy.
Doesn't pay attention anymore. Probably shaved his beard.
We'll just go talk
Probably
disc,
smart.
but he disc
Went off
golfs.
the
We'll
deep
just come
end.
over and talk disc golf with him, and
That's right. He does
Yeah.
disc golf. That's right.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll catch up and talk on the Superflex Super Show. But that's
Hell
where
yeah.
you can catch me in the meantime. As Superflex Dude on Twitter. I freaking hate Twitter, but we're there. We have to do it. Whatever.
It's unnecessary evil for us in this space. Unfortunately, it's gotten so worse.
it's toxic as hell, but it's there.
Yep.
Anyways, it's there.
Yeah, but that's where I am. Oh, and I rank Superflex Dynasty at dynastyleaguefootball.com and even write the occasional article. I just wrote one last week on it's Superflex startup ADP with rookie picks for both 2022 and 2023.
What? Gee, look at you.
Yeah. So
How many
interesting
23
stuff,
picks
man.
went before the first 22 pick? Is it just one?
None.
Really?
Well, so it was random 2023 picks because we don't have a way to call them 101 just
That's
yet.
fair. That's fair.
Or else I think it would have been a way different situation. But the 2023 picks didn't come off the board until right around when 2022 pick 1.09 was drafted.
That's fucking.
Wow.
I mean,
That's wrong, right?
I
That's-
feel like
that's-
the drop off is about 6 picks in Superflex, maybe 7.
yeah.
And it just
and,
feels
and
so.
even then,
Oh, right.
yeah, there's going to be about 3 quarterbacks that I'm interested in, and probably 2 running backs. And even then, if there's any way for me to do it, I would way rather just push everything to 2023.
I mean, that's been the play.
Yeah.
That's been the play even since last year. I mean, yes, you got Chase. There's a couple target, guys you want to get, especially in Superflex. But then it's push everything to 23,
Yep.
and just hopefully get Bijan, and hopefully you can get Robinson and
Yeah.
Stroud and
Bryce Young, if you need
yeah.
quarterback, yeah.
There's
Even
some
though-
monster quarterbacks, running backs coming in that class. Hopefully,
Yeah. Well, and even the wide receivers are going to be like it maybe not quite as deep, but they're still going to be better at the top end, right? I mean, and you guys will know this better than me, but that's kind of the impression I'm getting is you'd way rather have a shot at Keyshawn Butte than a for sure.
yeah.
It
feels like receivers 6 this year than 23 is your quarterback, running back,
Yeah.
because just because of the high end QB.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And like you said, the running backs.
All right, I will just piggyback this. I'm gonna say nice things.
That's fair.
If you want, the thing I like about John, other than the fact that he's a great dude and we always have fun talking to him, is that you're not gonna get cookie cutter bullshit takes. He has a unique way in a different way than a lot of people of evaluating players and evaluating veterans, especially being a little more blind to the recency bias than a lot of people, and it's a different perspective, and that's one of the reasons he's one of our favorite people to have on, is because it's a different perspective. So, if you're looking for not the same take that you're getting 90 other places on Twitter, be sure to check him out, because I can guarantee you it's going to be a different perspective than what you're picking up most other places.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot.
I got one more question, and I can't believe, we're not talking NFC, so I think you know where we're going with this. Aaron Rodgers, baby, where are you standing right now?
I still have him ranked.
Is he still top 5 for you?
Yeah. I believe so.
You can't quit him. You just can't quit him.
Actually, I think he fell a spot or two. I want to say he's quarterback 6. So, I just did an overhaul of my rankings, and now I already forgot what they look like. But essentially,
I put you on the spot. I'm ruining Rodgers. That's like breaking news.
Yeah. What I will say, I've got him in the same tier as Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson.
Is Mahomes in a tier of its own?
Yeah.
Still
Mahomes. Yeah, Mahomes 101 tier all by himself. Tier break to Herbert, Burrow. Tier break, Josh Allen.
Wow.
And then I don't remember the order from there.
I think the Herbert Burrow take is exactly like
I think Josh Allen
exactly
not being
what I was
that,
saying.
Yeah. Not having Allen in that it's very much and if we haven't gone 2.5 hours, I want to dive into this, but we've gone a longer show. This is it. I like this.
I've gotten a lot of crap for that one, and all I'll say, we're splitting hairs at the top end.
You are.
Yeah.
Like you just want an elite quarterback. Like that's all there is to it. You want someone from those top 3 tiers. So
he's almost based on where you have him, he's almost selling that point. Like you said, back-to-back QB1, like the QB1 finishes.
That's the big thing for me.
He's about to lose his OC, but so
yeah. The big thing is, it's not sustainable. Like quarterback 1 overall multiple times, like in a row, it just doesn't happen. There's regression coming. It's also a more conservative offense than what Herbert and Burrow have. So
it's true.
But again, it's minute, but we have to split hairs somehow, and that's how I
just had to ask about Rodgers. I'm glad we got into where
he's
John
still
had Josh Allen ranked.
Yeah, he's in the same tier as Josh Allen. That's all. That's the statement.
I want to
right
see
there.
how Twitter
Then
would
tweet.
respond to that.
They fucking hate it.
John would just. I just can't imagine the DMs. How the fuck can you put a 38-year-old quarterback and who's gonna leave? Who's probably gonna go play, Alex Trebek and gonna go drink with Joe Rogan.
He's number 1 in my Jeopardy Dynasty rankings.
Yeah.
Which is probably I can't wait for him to fall off the face of the earth, but that's just more for personal reasons.
Honestly,
I'm gonna be very happy that he's not playing the Vikings twice a year, but I am gonna miss his QB play, because when he was elite, he was insane. Like the fact that he's going to potentially retire as the MVP in this age 38
he's
season
not
is just
retiring.
remarkable.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I'm wishful thinking. I'm so torn on what he wants to do with Green Bay. I really am.
The only reason I don't have him ranked higher is because there is a non-zero chance that he retires. But I would put him
retired
up
last year too, and that's where I'm at.
Because he doesn't want to be in Green Bay. It's gonna be he might retire, and then
with
he's
how
gonna
he
Brett
lost,
Favre it, and he's gonna come back age 40.
He's gonna go to the Vikings. Oh my God! Just imagine. I wouldn't know what to do with I may just quit at that point if that were to happen. I actually like Brett Favre, but I don't like Rodgers. So, not as a person more so.
Brett Favre wasn't all.
No, I don't like him as a
unicorn
person
rainbows
anymore either. But I don't know. I just like shitting on Rodgers. All right. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, great. At Beerfield on Twitter, at Beerfield Hop, at Beerfield Thury, Beerfield Podcast on YouTube. We'll be back next week. We're going to talk NFC Dynasty. we will have Shane from Dynasty Trades HQ on. If you have not listened to that, that is going to be a hell of a conversation.
We're gonna break the records of swear words.
Put
in
the
one
kids to
episode.
bed before
Shane
that
is
show
the
happens.
worst.
Shane is the worst.
Shane is the best though too.
I fucking love him.
Put the kids to bed before that episode's up because you're going to hear more fucks than in a Blink-182 live CD.
You're gonna learn some new swear words too.
We'll end up making a few up.
It's gonna be more fucks than Limp Biscuits break stuff.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.